Kenya has a formidable team of 10 athletes, amongst them Africa's fastest man, Ferdinand Omanyala. It is going to be a blast, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
Is it true that Mariela didn't marry me because she's in love with you all this time?
The man responsible for this crime will definitely be punished. You can be certain.
You know that I need you now more than ever. I need a woman who loves me. I want you to be that woman for me.
It was you! You killed her! You killed her! You're a murderer! It was you, Demian! Lying heart.
Fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
FM ilayska ummadda.
A very good morning to you and welcome to this live program. This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Jen Ramboy. We are glad you are with us on this 14th day of March 2022. We do trust your week and your morning has been off to a good start. Welcome once again to the program. Victor.
Absolutely. It's a day that over 800,000 students are going to be sitting the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education today. We wish them all the very best in that exam. And the government, that's according to CS Magoha, all the fears of cheating and leakage of examinations will not be accepted. My name is Victor Lowe. Welcome to the program. But for those people who are still wearing masks, Doreen, take it away.
I think it's imekuwa tu a thing. Like, you're so used for a whole 2 years.
Exactly. Some people used to it.
It's like now when you don't wear, you feel some type of way, yet they've been sort of lifted.
You feel exposed?
You're
vulnerable. Unahofia maisha yako.
For some reason, masks like became part of us. They became like go.
Yeah.
You cannot leave the house without. So much as the CS said that last week, tutazoea tu kukosa kuvaa mask.
All habits die hard.
Anyway, good morning to your viewers. You know, we always appreciate you every other day, making time to join us from 6:30 all the way through 10 a.m. We obviously have a packed up show lined up for you this Monday morning, so stay put up until that time. And kama kawaida, many thanks for making time. I'm Doreen Arange Okelo. Regina.
Now, the 14th of March 2022, you tune to KBC Channel 1. Good morning, Kenya. We have so much in as far as news updates are concerned, given that today is day one for the KCSC examinations. We have various reporters who are traversing different parts of the country to just bring us up to speed with how that particular exercise kicks off. Remember, last week we saw what happened during the KCPE examinations there, where 1.2 million students were expected to sit for that particular examination. There were cases of fraud and arrests have since been made, with the government coming out to say, you know what, even in insecure areas, that is Kerio Valley, they're going to deploy a use of, helicopters to deliver this particular exam so that all students and pupils who are set to sit for this particular national examinations get to do so. Further on, the political scene has changed. So over the 12th, which was the weekend, we saw, the endorsement of Raila Odinga as Azimio la Umoja flag bearer. They say, there's been quite a standoff there, so to speak, where as far as, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka is concerned. And missing in action was NARC Kenya, Martha Karua, for that particular conference. And on social media, there was this comment where Raila Odinga's daughter came out and posted saying, when President Uhuru Kenyatta arrived, they asked him, where is the fifth? And President Uhuru Kenyatta said the fourth has to arrive before the fifth. The political matrix continues changing. Remember, each and every day is quite a long day in politics. So we're going to be keeping tabs on that, and further details are going to be coming up as we discuss matters politics in our live conversation with Victor Olo in not too long. And if you've been wondering the ripple effect of the Ukraine-Russia war, well, food prices are one thing to go by, because we are expected to, witness an increase in fast-moving consumer goods as well as fertilizer. So this is one of the ripple effects of, the war that is happening between Ukraine and Russia. Being the 14th, at around 3 p.m. today, or 5 p.m. so to speak, we're going to have EPRA release its fuel prices for the month. Will the government be utilizing the levy to cushion Kenyans from the high cost of fuel? All that will be coming up in not too long as we talk Matters News. I'm Regina Manyara, and this is Good Morning Kenya. Good morning, I'm Regina Manyara. You can get me on Twitter at Ray Manyara, and our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. For your feedback, include where you're watching this particular broadcast from. KCSC enters day one, where 800,000 students are set to begin their 2021 KCSC theory examinations. Now, the examination, which will be administered in 10,413 centers, will see candidates sit for the English Paper 1, then Chemistry Paper 1. As Zainab Said reports, the Ministry of Education, while assuring a smooth commencement of the exams across the country, continues to warn those planning to engage in exam malpractices.
21 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education theory examinations after the completion of the practical and oral exams for French, Germany, Arabic and Kenya Sign Language, which began on February 28th. This time round, the number of candidates has increased by 10.42% from 752,602 candidates who sat the 2020 exam to 831,026 candidates this year. The containers carrying the examination will be open at 6 a.m. at the 483 distribution centers, with the administering of the exams expected to start at 8 a.m. across all the 10,413 centers countrywide. The Ministry of Education, led by Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha, says measures are in place to ensure integrity of the examination is upheld.
The examination has not leaked, so we are fully in control. We are going to use over 200,000 teachers and over 45,000 security agents. The exams are already in the container. And even though the cartels are very active, especially in Telegram, they are getting nothing. 2022 will see the Kenya National Examination Council administer 2 national examinations. The 2022 Kenya Certificate of Primary Education is expected to run between November 28th and December 1st, while the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education will be done from December 1st to December 23rd, alongside final assessment for the pioneer class of the new curriculum, who will be completing grade 6.
Day one, several government officials are going to be monitoring this particular exercise. We have CS Magoha, who is going to be monitoring the exercise from Mombasa County at the Nyali DCC office container. CS Sarah Ruto will be monitoring Meru County from the Meru Central DCC container. We have Pisas Juan there, who is going to be supervising the day's activities in Uasin Gishu County. PS Cheruiyot is going to be in Kajiado County. PS Fatima Chege is expected in Nyeri County, while TSC CEO Nancy Macharia will be supervising the day's activities in Nakuru County. NEC Chairman Onsati will be supervising the day's activities in Nairobi County, while NEC CEO Njengere will be in Starehe Sub-County. KICD CEO is also not going to be left behind. He's going to be supervising these particular activities in Vihiga County. We're going to be keeping tabs on day one as KCSC commences in the country. Now we cross over to matters politics, where Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga has called for peaceful coexistence and political tolerance ahead of the August 9th general election. Odinga, who spoke after a church service in Nairobi, stated that Kenya is not ready to gamble with the peace the country continues to enjoy, urging the political class to desist from propagating divisive politics. Raila leaves the country. Actually, he left the country yesterday for a working tour of the United Kingdom.
Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga joined the congregation at the All Saints Cathedral Church in Nairobi for Sunday service. The former Prime Minister asked Kenyans to build a culture of tolerance.
We want to ensure that this country remains peaceful. So we are praying to the Lord that our people should remain peaceful, irrespective of our political differences. We should not hate each other.
Accompanied by leaders affiliated to the Azimio la Umoja, the former Prime Minister urged political leaders to exercise restraint and embrace peaceful coexistence as the August general election draws closer.
We should conduct ourselves in a mature way, because we are trying to ensure that our democracy matures, that you can be opponents, but you're not enemies.
And just a day after endorsing Raila Odinga as Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer, Wiper Democratic Movement leader Kalonzo Musyoka says the Azimio Oka coalition agreement signed on Saturday at the KICC will have the final say on all coalition affairs.
What was signed was Azimio Oka coalition and the Political Parties Amendment Act, which now made it possible to form Azimio Oka, not Azimio.
Kalonzo, who spent the day in his Ikuru home, responded to those faulting him for endorsing Raila for the third time, saying the driving force behind the deal was the interest of the country and a guarantee of peace after the August 9 election. In Bungoma, leaders from Democratic Action Party Kenya DAPK drummed up support for Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga.
Tumwona Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya Bwana Uhuru Kenyatta akihand over battle ya leadership to Raila Amolo Odinga. Webuye mmekaribisha.
Zaidi ya miaka 30 inamwelewa, he will deliver, he will revive our economy.
Led by Defense Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, the leaders faulted a section of leaders from the region for betraying the Mulembe nation.
Na leo nikija nyumbani nina swali moja tu kwenu. Now that the die is cast and the next government has been formed and the next president is known, ni chaguo lenu watu wa Webuye, watu wa Bungoma, watu wa Western. Munataka muwe ndani ya serikali ya Azimio ama muwe kwa upinzani?
Meanwhile, Azimio la Umoja coalition flag bearer Raila Odinga is set to leave the country Sunday night for a week-long working tour of the United Kingdom. In London, Raila will, among other engagements, meet with the UK Minister of Armed Forces James Heappey, hold talks with UK Prime Minister's trade envoy to Kenya, Theo Clark, and give a lecture at the Reverend Chatham House. In the itinerary, the former Prime Minister is also scheduled to meet the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, and Kenyans living in the United Kingdom.
Now off to the Kenya Kwanza camp, where Deputy President William Ruto is accusing President Uhuru Kenyatta of frustrating him in the last 4 years so he could disown the promise of handing over the government to him. Ruto claims that the installation of Raila Odinga as the Azimio la Umoja flag bearer was a testament enough that the endgame for the handshake and the BBI was to manage this year's succession politics. Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza Alliance team received a boost after former Kiambu Governor William Kabogo, Gatundu South MP Moses Kuria, and Kiambu Senator Kimani Wamatangi joined the coalition.
The Kenya Kwanza team was in its second day of a vote hunt in the Mount Kenya region. The team on Sunday landed in Kiambu, President Uhuru Kenyatta's home county. The team beginning their tour with a booster to their campaigns, following the joining of Gatundu MP Moses Kuria of Chama cha Kazi, former Kiambu Governor William Kabogo of Tujibebe Party, and Kiambu Senator Kimani Wamatangi to the coalition.
Serikali iko hapa na tutawashinda saa mbili. Hebu fanyeni saa mbili tutawashinda. Mimi niliambia chifu hasa mwaka hili imepita. Nikamwambia ndugu yangu chunga iko hatari. Usimame kiti kwa sababu umeambiliwa. Nenda ukatafute. Sasa mahali tunapoenda, mimi niko na wazi ya kwamba kazi ya UDA itang'ara.
With the president having made it clear that his choice for successor is ODM leader Raila Odinga, Deputy President William Ruto led the Kenya Kwanza team in accusing the president of spending the last 4 years frustrating him so as to disown the promise to support him.
Sisi tumeona yale umetufanya, lakini kwa sababu sisi ni wacha Mungu, sisi tumekusamehe. Sisi rais tumekusamehe na tumekuachia Mungu.
I sympathize with some of my very close friends, but choices have consequences. Every choice you make, there are consequences waiting for you.
The team says President Kenyatta had resorted to frustrating his former allies despite supporting his presidency.
Sisi ambao unatuangaisha, sisi ambao unatutesa, sisi ambao unatuita majina, sijui takataka, sijui wezi, my friend, sisi ndio tulitembea na wewe Kenya mzima, tukapiga magoti.
The Kenya Kwanza team further alleged that the government had resorted to weaponizing investigative agencies and the taxman to frustrate genuine businesses.
Mwezi wa 9 tukichukua serikali, we want a judicial commission of inquiry to inquire into the attempts of KRA, how the authority was turned from a body of collecting revenue to a tool to intimidate people politically. I want to tell you, Mr. President, the EACC, the DCI, and the KRA were weaponized against ordinary Kenyans, against businesses, and against leaders in this country.
The team claims it has the right credentials to set the country on an economic recovery and maintain Kenya's diplomatic standing.
I want to make it very clear and to discount that those rumors have now been quashed because the people of Kenya have decided that they have not seen anything wrong in the Kenya Kwanza leadership, including William Ruto, and therefore the international community has nothing to fear about Kenya Kwanza.
With Moses Kuria's Chama cha Kazi and Kabogo's Tujibebe joining the Kenya Kwanza alliance, and with other parties expected to join the coalition, the group hopes to consolidate its numbers and lock out Mount Kenya region from possible infiltration by the Azimio la Umoja coalition.
Indeed, the political scene is taking shape. Now, still keeping up with matters politics is a Green Thinking Action Party leader. Dr. Isaac Kalua says the party will not support any presidential candidate in the forthcoming general election. Dr. Kalua is urging the electorate to take their constitutional right of voting seriously and elect leaders who can leverage on devolution to solve problems affecting communities. He then added that the Green Thinking Action Party will seek to promote environment protection and conservation for the current and future generation.
The Green Thinking Action Party pitched camp in Narok County to popularize its Tunajenga agenda. Party leader Dr. Isaac Kalua saying the party will adopt a non-partisan approach when it comes to presidential candidates.
Tutahakikisha tuko na ile green scorecard ambayo ni muhimu. Kama kiongozi alisimama na akasema atafanya jambo hili na lile lingine, lazima tuhakikishe amelifanya, na kama hajakifanya tutahakikisha tumesema ya kwamba haliahidi hiki na hakukifanya.
The Green Thinking Action Party leader noted that the environment protection is key and the political outfit will work to ensure the greening of the country.
Maneno ya mazingira ni ya muhimu kabisa kwa kila mmoja, kila Mkenya. Umeona ndugu yangu ambaye amejitolea bila yeye kushawishiwa miti milioni moja, miche milioni moja ili iweze kupandwa katika mashamba ama maeneo ya shule.
Tunafaa kupanda miti kama JITAP, tunapanda kaunti zote za Kenya.
Dr. Kalua, who graced the celebrations to mark International Women's Day in Masantari, Narok South, also weighed in on the border reforms debate, calling on authorities to be lenient on operators.
Ukifanya makosa, ukiiba unarudisha, ama ukimtendea mtu makosa unamuomba msamaha. Na kwa sababu Mungu ametuomba tusameheane, that is all that we need to do.
Now off to matters security, where police in KC County are investigating the murder of a middle-aged woman whose body was found dumped near a hotel located directly opposite the KC Central Police Station. The body had deep cuts in the neck with indications the deceased was sexually assaulted before being murdered.
The prevailing security situation in Baringo County is forcing some leaders to suspend their public political engagements. The leaders say it is insensitive to hunt for votes when peace is elusive.
Toka leo na kwenda mbele mpaka Ijumaa hii tumesitisha na kuacha mambo ya campaign mpaka tukutane Ijumaa ili tupate kuongea pamoja kuhusu mambo ya security yetu katika sehemu yetu.
The government recently deployed National Police Reservists to the region to help deal with runaway banditry.
It is dire. Like in Chemorongion village, we have a village that has been confined to less than 2 kilometers square. They can't move this way, they can't move downstream, they can't move upward.
Sheria ya nchi inalinda maisha na mali ya watu. Sisi tumepoteza location 3. Tumepoteza watu 278 na inaongezeka. Hakuna huruma kwa hao watu ambao wanaenda maisha yao.
We have thrown aside our political differences to come and appeal to the international community, to Kenyans, to those people of goodwill, to even intercede for this county. We are not talking about development anymore. We are talking about preservation of life.
Meanwhile, residents of Kisii town are in shock following the discovery of the body of a middle-aged woman dumped near a hotel a few meters from Kisii Central Police Station. According to the police report, the unidentified body had deep cuts on the neck and signs of sexual assault. It is an incident that has sparked public outcry, with gender activists calling for speedy investigations to unearth the perpetrators of the heinous act.
When this was happening, does it mean that the entire Kisii, everybody was asleep, including the police, when you walikuwa on patrol?
Masuala ya wanawake si masuala ya wanawake peke yake.
hata wanaume tuungane sote pamoja ili tufanye hii shughuli kwa umoja na iwe na matokeo tofauti.
What they did was just beyond human explanation. And I want to call upon our police officers to do a thorough investigation so that they get to the deep root of this incident.
Matters of gender-based violence there continue rising. We just hope one day we'll remember that, human life is actually priceless. Now off to the counties where residents of Migori County will soon enjoy affordable quality healthcare after the county rolled out the Universal Healthcare Program. The program, which is part of the Big Four agenda, has been rolled out across the country with the aim of making healthcare accessible to needy individuals in the society.
Leo asubuhi kabla watu kwenda kanisa tumepata mkasa wa accident ya barabara ambao umeua watu wawili. Kwa hivyo nitauliza serikali iangalie, as much as tunahitaji maendeleo, as much as Western Bypass itatuletea maendeleo, ni vizuri pia kuangalia safety ya watu wetu. Otherwise tutaendelea kuwa na maafa ambayo itakuwa inaendelea kufinyilia watu wetu.
Now, the Pope, that is Pope Francis, has weighed in on matters Ukraine, saying that the terms are unacceptable, what is happening, and the armed aggression in Ukraine. Now, in a series of tweets on Sunday, the Pope said the ongoing barbarism in killing women and children, and that there is need to end it before cities are reduced to cemeteries.
Playing off handicap.
Well, clearly that is not the Pope there and his tweets, but let's take that again, is that now the Pope has called for an end to what is termed as unacceptable and armed aggression in Ukraine. Well, remember, further details are available on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. We'll be back with what is happening in the sporting arena.
Playing off handicap.
In the future, we've got to stick together and live a better life.
Nikki and I are already divorced. She has nothing to do with me anymore. I only have one son right now, and he's Sean. I don't know why you're being so stubborn.
Are you with Pinky right now?
Listen, I'll talk with you later. I gotta go.
Helen, congratulations. You look amazing today.
I'm sorry. The bridegroom may be a bit late.
It's okay. He must be on the way.
Jack, be careful. Pinky doesn't know how to swim.
Jack,
hurry and save her.
Are you an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
In the future, we've got to stick together and live a better life.
Nikki and I are already divorced. She has nothing to do with me anymore. I only have one son right now, and he's Sean. I don't know why you're being so stubborn.
Are you with Pinky right now?
Listen, I'll talk with you later. I gotta go.
Helen, congratulations. You look amazing today.
I'm sorry. The bridegroom may be a bit late.
It's okay. He must be on the way.
Jack, be careful! Pinky doesn't know how to swim!
Jack,
hurry and save her!
Morning. Glad you're still with us. You're watching Good Morning Kenya right here on KBC Channel 1, and I'm Regina Manyara. Now to the sporting arena, where world marathon champion Ruth Chepngetich braved off a stiff competition to win the Nagoya Women's Marathon. Now, Chepngetich set a new course record of 2 hours, 17 minutes and 18 seconds to bag the title ahead of the 2020 Tokyo Marathon winner Lorna Chemtai Salpeter, who came in second. Japan's Yuka Ando was the third, relegating compatriots Ai Hasoda and Yuka Suzuki to fourth and fifth positions respectively. Chepngetich walked away with $250,000 for her victory. Congratulations.
Great.
Converting the $250,000 to see how many shillings that's it. Well, we'll be telling you that as we talk on matters in the headlines. Now, Kakamega Homeboys hopes of extending the gap between them and second place Tusker got a hit after a 2-1 defeat to Bandari FC in Mombasa. In another match, Talanta FC battled to a 1-1 draw against Ulinzi Stars. Well, that puts a cap on Matters News. Remember that all this is available on our website. That is www.kbc.co.ke. Thank you very much for keeping us company. We are not done and dusted. We have a sneak peek onto what is happening on our major roads, after which we're going to also be bringing you up to speed with KCSC day one, the preparations, or rather what is happening on ground with various lead government officials, including the CS there, supervising this particular exercise down in Mombasa County. Over to you, Doreen, Traffic Marshal A1.
Right, before we get to all of that, quick look on what is happening along Westlands as well as Wayakiwe, given that that is our focus this Monday morning. So we perhaps begin from the roundabout. That is the Westlands roundabout. Obviously, again, one of those busy areas. And again, this is simply because of a lot of those businesses which were in the city center relocating to some of these places, areas around Westlands as well as Upper Hill. This is part of what has also necessitated that construction that you have been seeing around this area, as well as also some areas of parkland. So this is how it is looking like this morning. Really not that bad at all. Most of the time, especially this time of the morning, just around 7 a.m., oftentimes heavy kind of traffic. And this is one of those interesting, if I could say, peculiar kind of roads, because oftentimes on most of this major roads, you really be expecting to see traffic as you head over to the city center only in this morning hour. But on this particular one, it's both ways. So as you leave city center heading over to the estates, as well as also leaving the estates coming to the city center. But just like I mentioned, it's also because quite a number of businesses are along this way. So clearly, as you head over to CBD, like most of the roads, this again, just as you leave the city center heading over to areas around Westlands, Parklands, as well as the different other areas where a good number of activities as well as businesses are stationed at. But coming back, the traffic flow, nothing is changing at all. Still moving at a swift pace on major parts, particularly around the roundabout, but slightly before that area, that is before the roundabout, traffic building up on some sections along Wayakiwe, and this is particularly as you head over to the estates. Just basically what I was explaining to you earlier. Moving at a very slow pace, well characterized or indicated, shown by that red color there, which is a clear indicator of that. But if you're living areas of Kikuyu, Kino, coming to, as well as Parklands, Westlands as well, coming to the city center right now is a good time for you. And if you are on the roads, it's still a good time because there's barely any kind of traffic, so to speak, or even heavy kind of traffic as you head over to the CBD. But if you're coming to these other areas, those areas that I've just mentioned, then perhaps at this point you'll have to make do with this heavy traffic. This is slightly past the Westlands roundabout, but just in between those two sections where there's really heavy kind of traffic. Nonetheless, away from that, as you head over to areas around ABC, branching off to some sections of Lavington there, particularly around those areas, moving at a very swift pace. But again, remember that still along these areas, clearly expressway is still taking shape. Particularly, this is why we are seeing this kind of traffic on most, or I mean on some of these areas. But like I mentioned, still could be a good time for you if at all you're leaving your homes, and also if you're leaving city center going to this area. So this is our focus this morning when it comes to traffic flow. Nothing is really changing much. Some sections moving at a very swift pace. In others, just like I mentioned, traffic beginning to slightly build up, but around slightly past the roundabout, actually before the roundabout, is just where there's really heavy kind of traffic. That is how it is looking like this morning around the Westlands roundabout, and particularly also some sections of Wayakiwe at exactly 6 minutes past 7 a.m.
Kitwek FM Kegosin.
Nyumba umegeuza klabu.
Hasa wewe shida yako ni nini?
Tuambie ulikuwa na shughuli gani usiku mzima?
Sijielewi. Nasikia ovyo tu.
Ni maswali gani kuna muuliza mama pale chini mezani?
Haikuhusu hiyo.
Una vita vikali na bado hujajua kujikinga.
Muda wote huu kwa umekuwa kiniada.
Nihusu mimi. I don't care. I don't care.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
Is it true that Mariela didn't marry me because she's in love with you all this time?
The man responsible for this crime will definitely be punished. You can be certain.
You know that I need you now more than ever. I need a woman who loves me. I want you to be that woman for me.
It was you! You killed her! You killed her! You're a murderer! It was you, Demian! Lying heart.
Fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
Good morning. It's now another time for us to take a look at what is happening on the front pages of our local dailies here in studio on this 14th day of March 2022. And in studio, I have got retired Inspector General of Police. All right. Assistant of Police. That is Charles Owino, who is also Siaya Governor gubernatorial aspirant in studio with me today. Welcome to the show, Charles Owino.
Asante sana.
And you something interesting, you said that this is where it all began.
Yes, 15 years ago, I started my journey for communication here.
Yes.
I started by undertaking a program called Know Your Policeman every Sunday.
Yes.
I was interviewed by Kasuja Onyonyi every morning.
Yes.
I was still staff officer at Railway Police.
Right.
And then after that, one morning, I was told that I had been appointed a deputy spokesperson.
One morning.
So
it all began here?
Yeah, so my communication for the police began here.
Yes.
And I think because I've just joined a new area, and that is politics, I'm also glad that by coincidence, the major stint starts here today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And welcome. And we are starting it off on front pages of local dailies. I have got the Standard here. And on the front page of the Standard, Kenyans suffer as Ukraine war hits food prices. Kenyans buy wheat and fertilizer from Russia and Ukraine, and both countries have banned exports, meaning cost of bread and farm inputs will rise. Now, shilling has also weakened against US dollar, to so cost of national debt that has gone up. That's what's on the front page of the Standard here. And still on the front page, Kalonzo hits out at Raila Ngilu for Azimio standoff. Now, Wiper Boss says that Odinga delayed his signing of the deal because he did not want anything to do with Oka, and that Ngilu did not want him to benefit from joining Azimio. Charles, a lot's happening politically speaking. It was a busy weekend, and such sentiments now perhaps exposes what was happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think before that,
yes,
I have a big national interest in the first headline.
The Kenyans suffer as Ukraine war hits food prices.
Yes, Kenyans suffer. Our economy largely is agricultural, and we are facing a lot of challenge because the price of fertilizer has gone up. Now in my rural area, I think we are buying a bag of DAP at between 6,500 and 7,000.
Yes.
And this is our planting season. For some of us who are farmers, it's quite difficult.
Yeah, if you have got acres of land.
Yeah, majority of, even the peasants who are doing 1 acre, 2 acres, 6,500 is far much ahead.
Yes.
Because we've been buying at about 3,000 and it was still high. Also, given your production, you would ask, how much are you getting per acre?
Yes.
So I think this is a serious factor now that we get our fertilizer majorly from Russia and Ukraine. I think this is going to hit us, and more so the peasant farmers that rely, because our economy is agricultural generally, and people need food.
Yes, and even on the front page it says that 172 shillings, that's the cost of 2 kg packet of wheat flour, and 6,500 shillings, that is the cost of 50 bag that you talked about of fertilizer, and 114 shillings exchange rate of the shilling against the US dollar. Perhaps we can only hope that at some point things are going to actually formalize and we go back to our normal lives.
Yes, it's tricky, and that is why in our discussion, as we come in, you'll find that there is need to unite the country and boost economy so that all of us can be able to access money.
Yes.
It's very, very important.
Right.
And we look at it politically, how probably politics affect our opportunities to make money collectively as a nation. Because even if you make money as an individual, you'll simply keep it and keep it in the bank, and it is the banks that will do business with it. But the rest of the people will not have the money. So we are looking at an economy where each and every person makes money, or the country makes money collectively and ensures even distribution. And that is actually the meaning of politics. Because politics, you get power and you use that power to create wealth
as well. Exactly.
And then when you've created that wealth, you distribute that wealth to the people. That's the baseline.
You know what worries many people is that they have been petitioning, or actually talking to the government to make sure that the cost of living is reduced.
Yes.
But as it is right now, Kenya is suffering. There's that ripple effect.
Yes.
Because we are an international country. We depend on so many things. We depend on exports and imports. But then we have got the Ukraine and Russia war. Perhaps we can only imagine how other countries which are landlocked are also suffering. You know, Kenya is not alone.
Yes, but you see, Kenya is a lucky country.
Yes.
Because we are surrounded by so many landlocked countries. Currently, we are doing one of the best ports regionally. Lamu Port will be able to carry very big ships. And we are able to support our landlocked countries, and we make business out of it. You know, Ethiopia is landlocked, South Sudan, Uganda, Rwanda, and so on. And that is why you find that this has also supported us. Despite high levels of corruption within ourselves, we have still managed to keep our economy afloat. Otherwise, if it were not for the fact that we are not landlocked regionally, then I think we would have been
a different story altogether.
Yes.
All right, on the front page of the Star, I have vote blocks shaping Raila Ruto battle. Activities in regions with over 2.5 million votes likely to influence outcome, and the story continues to say that areas not focused on traditionally now stand to determine race. We have got picture there of Musalia Mudavadi, ANC leader, that is Deputy President William Ruto. We have got Moses Wetangula and Kavogo. Yesterday they came together at Thika Stadium in Kiambu and they hit out the president. That was bare knuckles, so to speak. And front page again, they say that over 831,000 students to sit KCSC examinations starting today. But then it continues to put down there Mumia's sugar, dash dreams and court battles. That has not been affected. Thousands of farmers relied on the once biggest sugar farm in Eastern Africa, actually controlling 50% of Kenya's market. It is now its heyday. The mailer would crush up to 7,000 tons of cane per day, producing at least 250,000 metric tons of sugar annually. You know what's happening, Brother Charles, because when you look at western side of Kenya, we talk of Mumias, talk of Awendo Sony Sugar, talk of Miwani. All these companies used to produce sugar that were being consumed in the entire country. But the Mumias sugar issue is quite emotive. Why do you think so?
I think we were doing very well.
Right.
In the Western Sugar Block. That is from Sony Sugar, Miwani, Chemelil, Mumias. And what has basically happened is that I think it started with cartels who are importing sugar. Because if you import sugar, then it means, and you import sugar at a very low price.
Yes.
Because of the mode of farming. Our farms are slightly smaller. If you go to Brazil, you find they have bigger farms.
Right.
We rely on rainfall. So you find that production per acreage and tonnage of sugar. The cost of production is high. So you find that mostly what happens is that we face a situation where our cost of production of sugar per ton is quite high. And then you find that the price of sugar outside there, those who are producing sugar in Brazil and the rest, is quite low. So with that kind of competition regionally, and then you remember that also we are in the East African bloc, where we had also to give a certain percentage of sugar to be brought into the country. There's nothing we can do about it.
Yes.
So if we take that competition, like Egypt sugar, Zambia, Malawi sugar, you find that our cost of production of sugar is very high.
Yes.
So we must come up with a system where we can reduce the cost of production of sugar per tonnage. Once we reduce the cost of production of sugar per tonnage, then we are also able to compete in the market. And this is the only thing that can keep us afloat. But equally, we must come up with very stringent measures where we are not going to have a large quantity of imported sugar in the market. But when you have a tough cartel, then most likely we will suffer in terms of sugar production. And it has killed our economy in the Western region.
Okay, but let's just cross to Starehe Boys Center, where we have got a reporter, Ruth Wamboi, there standing by to give us an update on what's happening. There we have got Ruth. Ruth, good morning. The Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education begins this morning with over 800,000 students sitting this particular paper. What can you tell us from Starehe Boys?
Thank you so much, Victor Olo. We are coming to you live from Starehe DCC Center, where all the papers for Starehe constituency, this is the depot where they have been dispatched to the managers who are taking them to the schools within this constituency. And the CEO of FONEC, Njengere, has just opened the container, and he just said that he has ensured that everything is intact and the papers are safe and ready for the students to administer. Some of the things that he has said is a challenge to them for now. He has said mobile phones. Mobile phones are a challenge to them because they say they are the ones that are being used to practice exam malpractice. So they have he has tasked the exam managers to ensure that all mobile phones are away from all the schools. Victor?
All right, I think we've lost Ruth there. Okay, we'll try to get Ruth back online to give an update on what's happening. That is Starehe DCC, and she's giving us an update on what's happening there with the papers being distributed to various parts of that particular region, with the students expected to start sitting their examination this morning. We will get back to Ruth as soon as we get her back online. All right, so on the front page of the Daily Nation, what do you have, Charles, there?
It's Ruto versus Uhuru. In the fight for his own succession, President Kenyatta is in the crosshairs of his deputy, who less than 24 hours after the launch of a Grand Azimio coalition, fired a trade against his boss yesterday, accusing him of calling him a thief and betraying him at his greatest hour of need. Ruto is angry, and so is the president.
We've had this for quite some time.
Yes.
Right.
I don't think this is peculiar. Deputy versus the boss.
Yes.
You remember the first president, Jomo Kenyatta and Jaramogi. They differed purely on policies.
Yes.
Because Jomo Kenyatta was purely he believed in developing economy. He's a capitalist.
Yes.
And Jaramogi was a socialist by the nature of his upbringing. So Jaramogi's social life, he grew up locally. Apart from going to Makerere, most of his stint was locally here. And by the nature of his community and so on, they are more of socialists. And Kenyatta had an opportunity, Mr. Jomo Kenyatta, to live in Britain in his early days for over 18 years. And therefore, he believed in a capital kind of economy. So they differed in policy. And when they differed in policy, they had to part ways bitterly for very many years. Murumbi came in, more of a Muzungu culture. He couldn't fit. Then Moi came in. Why did Moi succeed? Moi succeeded because he was patient. He bared a lot of trash, a lot of problems, people looking down upon him. And eventually he succeeded President Kenyatta.
Right.
Then Mwai Kibaki came in as Moi's deputy and as a vice president. And they worked together for almost 10 years up to 1988. They could also have differed in terms of their belief system and their policies. And they had to part ways. And Kibaki's career, as a brilliant student throughout his life, going to Makerere, going to School of Economics in London, coming in immediately as a young man, under 30 years, becoming administrator for KANU, becoming a cabinet minister, rising to become a vice president. Then suddenly he went down and became a minister from vice president and came down to opposition leader. And then with time, after some time, came up. And then these are things that happen. Even Raila Odinga said Kibaki tosha, but they didn't manage, I think because of the way they were looking at things. And Raila came down and came up again, became a prime minister, came down again, and is now again, strangely, in a peculiar way that people never expected, coming up again. So it's not strange for a president.
So it's about policies and ideologies.
It's ideologies,
right?
And the way an individual looks at things. And I think this one is not peculiar at all. What it calls for is tolerance. It calls for high tolerance amongst political leaders, and also everyone to look at history. What has happened to everybody who has ascended to the level of the presidency? It may not be now, but you can still have it tomorrow.
But why Ruto versus Uhuru? Why not Raila Odinga? Because it's Raila Odinga who is in that contest right now.
I think people are looking at it differently, in the sense that many people expected President Uhuru to support Ruto's presidency, given that Ruto supported him for presidency. But what people are not looking at is what is President Uhuru trying to do? What is his objective? Because if you look at Azimio la Umoja's pillars, one of it being managing divisive politics, and another one is managing divisive electoral process, issues of managing corruption, issues of managing insecurity, and then issues of revival of the economy. Because divisive politics, bad electoral process, corruption, insecurity, all these combined give us a bad economy.
Exactly.
And that ought to be managed. But look at our political history. We are looking at a situation where we have been divided from independence. A winner gets it, a winner takes it all. Then we have politics from day one. Like, for example, you find that we have carried out an election, and then immediately after that,
another cycle begins.
So we are not concentrating. We are not doing business. We are not looking at our country in a holistic nature on how do we revive the country. For example, it has been believed that every time the community from the mountain and the lake unite, we always find a very fast growth of economy. Because the lake people, the lake region people, have been agitators. When they see something they think is bad, they come up, they oppose it.
They speak it out.
No matter the consequences. And they have done that for a very long period of time. And nobody expected that President Uhuru Kenyatta remember, in 2002, Raila Odinga denied President Kenyatta opportunity to become president by supporting President Kibaki. But if you look at it, it gave President Uhuru an opportunity to mature. Because President Uhuru, politically, because President Uhuru became leader of the opposition. And leader of the opposition, he was even the chair of the Parliamentary Accounts Committee. Now he's understanding he understood the government properly. He later came in, became patient, decided, fine, Kibaki beat me, but I'll support Kibaki. He supported Kibaki. He became the deputy prime minister. He became minister for finance. And eventually, one way or the other, he got an opportunity to succeed President Kibaki. And the contest was tough. The 2013 contest, 2017 contest was even worse. It was so bad.
Because we had 3 elections.
Yes. So nobody would believe that President Kenyatta would support Raila Amolo Odinga to succeed him.
Because you were still serving in the police service then. And moving, you all know what happened in 2013, 2017. Did you ever see at this particular point
what I need
two gentlemen would come together?
What I want you to understand is that as much as you are termed as a police spokesperson,
yes,
you are basically on the political desk of the police. Are you getting me? Because you cannot run this country without security.
Yes.
It's only that you're not allowed to speak politics. But what I was doing was a political desk of the police. I can reveal today, and Mheshimiwa Murathe can believe today, that Mheshimiwa Murathe, Honorable Oburu Odinga, Joe Donde, and myself, we started the handshake on the day when the elections were just about to be announced.
In 2017?
In 2017. And Honorable Murathe told Oburu Odinga that you should be patient. You should allow President Kibaki, President Uhuru Kenyatta, to continue. Ask Raila to be patient. Ask Raila not to fight. That was Murathe telling Honorable Oburu in my presence and Honorable Joy Donde. And he told Oburu on the face that ask your brother to be patient. We don't hate him. We know his capacity. We know what he can do. But he must allow President Kenyatta to complete his term. That is where the handshake began. It was under waters for a very long time. A very long time.
All right.
Under waters for a very long time.
All right.
And Honorable Murathe and Mheshimiwa Oburu played a very big role in ensuring that we succeeded. And I was present.
Right.
He can attest to that. Now that I'm not a policeman, I can say I was present.
You're present.
And that was the journey.
Yes.
And when President Kenyatta had a handshake with Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, many of our friends, especially the Luos, Honorable Raila's cousins and relatives, called me and asked me, don't you think Honorable Kenyatta is lying to us? Don't you think he wants to put us under the bus and is going to support Honorable Ruto? But we said no. If these people have worked together at one time, President Kenyatta was Deputy Prime Minister,
under Raila
and in
Odinga.
charge of finance. Raila Odinga was Prime Minister. I believe they know one another. And politics, there's no permanent enmity, there's no permanent friendship.
Yes.
Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised after the coming elections, when Raila Odinga becomes president, if he is not going to work with Raila
Odinga,
with Honorable William Ruto. And I think history is just repeating itself. That every person who wants to become a president in this country must first be baptized with fire. And then if you are patient, you get it. Mzee Jomo Kenyatta was taken to prison.
Yes.
He left prison to become president. Honorable the President Moi was baptized by fire. People spat on him. People undermined him. He was patient. He became the president. President Kibaki was demoted from vice president for 10 years to minister and eventually to opposition leader. He made it. President Uhuru Kenyatta was baptized by fire. He was young, very young. He lost to Kibaki. He just came back, became patient. And eventually, he's clearing his term. I'm seeing a possibility, a likelihood Raila Odinga is the next president of this country.
Is it because he's been
president? Because he came down. Despite the problems that he had, he shook hands with President Kenyatta, became patient, did not ask for anything in President Kenyatta's government.
I'm told just hold on, because you're getting into the gist of the story.
Yes.
We take a very short break, and when we come back, we are still continue that discussion and just to look at what's happening on the front pages of our local dailies, as well as our reporters across the country. Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education begins this morning, and as well, we wish all the candidates all the best. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Kitwek FM Kegosin.
Hii nyumba umegeuza klabu?
Hasa wewe shida yako ni nini?
Tuambie ulikuwa na shughuli gani usiku mzima?
Sijielewi. Nasikia ovyo ovyo tu.
Ni maswali gani kuna muuliza mama pale chini mezani?
Haikuhusu hiyo.
Una vita vikali na bado hujajua kujikinga.
Muda wote huu kwa umekuwa kiniada.
Nusu mimi. I don't care. I don't care.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
Is it true that Mariela didn't marry me because she's in love with you all this time?
The man responsible for this crime will definitely be punished. You can be certain.
You know that I need you now more than ever. I need a woman who loves me. I want you to be that woman for me.
It was you! You killed her! You killed her! You're a murderer! It was you, Demian!
Lying heart. Fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
Welcome back, and still having this discussion, we have Charles Owino in studio, who is now an aspirant. He says that aliweka kofia chini, and now he's going to serve Kenyans in a different capacity in Siaya County, God willing. All right, as you are saying, Charles, you talked of the handshake that nobody ever saw, and up to date, the president still speak about it, and Honorable Raila Odinga still speak about it. You also still speaking about it. It's something that Kenyans, perhaps the best thing that Kenyans had.
Yes, and I've just told you that many people may not know. As much as I was a policeman, I told you I sat on a political desk.
Yes.
And there's a lot we could have done under waters, which maybe even Honorable Raila Odinga may not know to ensure that we were safe. What happens is that I've told you about the handshake.
Yes.
And the handshake began immediately after voting in 2017, when the results were just about to be announced. And I can attest, we were only about 5 people. There was Honorable Murathe, there was Njay Muturi, there was Honorable Oburu Odinga,
Joe Donde,
and Honorable Joe Donde and myself. When Murathe said they are going to work with Honorable Raila Odinga and was asking Oburu to watch the pace, and was asking him to be patient and talk to his brother, not to bring chaos and to allow the country to move on and President Kenyatta to finalize his term. And these were Honorable Murathe's words, and he kept to it. And under waters, they did the most impossible to ensure that President Uhuru and President Kenyatta shook hands and we reached where we are. But what I can tell you is simple. What President Kenyatta has done is what we call a de Klerk. What de Klerk did in South Africa when he removed Mandela from prison to people's surprise and handed it over to South Africa. And Mandela, Raila Odinga is going to do a Mandela. He's going to run, and I believe he may not even want to seek another term. He has, I don't know about it. But the president's objective is to unite this country because we have not done well.
Right.
We have been divided. And everybody must remember that life is temporary. And that period that God gives you to live, we must live happy.
It's called season and the reason.
Yes, we must live happy. And the only way we can live happy is to secure our country, ensure we don't have corruption at all, and ensure that our economy grows. I am seeing a Raila Odinga who is not going to be president for Luo Nyanza. We don't want him to be our president. We want him to be the president of the Republic of Kenya.
A nationalist.
Because he's not going to be a president and then tomorrow he says, Rift Valley has not voted me and therefore I exclude Rift Valley.
Yes.
President Kenyatta is fighting for inclusion, ensuring that everybody is included. Because Rift Valley gives us milk, Rift Valley gives us wheat, Rift Valley gives us maize, and our economy is purely agricultural. It gives us tea. Rift Valley is where we have Cherangani Hills, which is giving us Lake River Nzoia, which is feeding Lake Victoria. Rift Valley is giving us Mau Forest, which is giving us the big rivers that is feeding Lake Victoria, which is feeding up to Egypt and the rest. So we must look at this country in its holistic nature. We are looking for a presidential candidate, a president, who will look at Kilifi in its nature and say, what can we produce in Kilifi? Is it tourism? Are you going to exclude Kwale? Are you not going to improve Kwale security? We have problems of Kayabombo and so on.
Minerals even in Kwale.
And we also have minerals in Kwale. We are looking at a president who will look at Kwale and invest in Kwale. If it is tourism, if it is minerals, whatever it is, look at Kilifi, look at Lamu, because we have problems of insecurity in Lamu. We have the best port in Lamu. We want to do a road and a rail from Lamu all the way to Moyale, to ensure that we cover Moyale, we get into Ethiopia, and or we get into South Sudan, we get into Central Africa, and we move into Cameroon. So we are looking at a president who will look at this country in its holistic nature. And we are looking at how do we include every Kenyan. Currently, the president himself and other Kenyans believe is Raila Odinga. So somebody will ask yourself, does it mean this is the end of William Ruto? No. I've told you that in Kenya you get baptized by fire. So that you learn more. I'm seeing Deputy President losing this election, but that does not mean that he will never be president. It will just be a process maybe of developing him to bring down his temperatures, the way Raila's temperatures has been brought down with time, bring down his temperatures and give him maybe an opportunity. So as political scientists, I'm a policeman, but my area of study is political science.
Right.
When you look at an individual, where you talk about why Raila, you look at Raila's idiosyncratic variables.
Why Raila?
Yes. You look at his idiosyncratic variables. You look at his age. He's old. He's experienced. You look at his belief system. He believes in transparency. He believes in competitive politics. He believes in managing corruption and so on. So if when Raila Odinga becomes president tomorrow, everybody will be pregnant with a lot of expectations that this is one of the fathers of democracy.
Right.
And this is what he believes in. They would want to see him. Is he managing this country as he had said before? Is he able to bring everybody together? Is he able to develop Turkana? Is he able to develop, or he's going to say, oh, Luos, you've been excluded for a long time.
Nice your turn.
Yeah. I'm seeing a government where we may not have a Luo cabinet secretary. Because the till will be full, because we have to give Kenyans everything. If we may have maybe one,
Yes, spread it across all the...
Yes, we are not expecting positions in Raila Odinga's government. We are expecting a vibrant economy. We want to improve our economy. We want to improve our security. We want to ensure that corruption is completely limited. You may not eradicate it at once. We want to ensure we have managed security, we have managed issues of corruption. We have brought in inclusion so that every Kenyan can do business. You know, we don't want busybodies in town cutting deals. We are looking for opportunity that every Kenyan will have an opportunity to work and contribute to the economy. Once we are rich as an economy, everything is working, we are able to make money, because I've told you most of our neighbors are landlocked. How do we make use of our two ports, the Mombasa port and the Lamu port? How do you ensure that our carrier, Kenya Airways, is profitable? How can we compete Emirates? Currently, Kenya Airways is moving to New York at least every week, twice or so. How can it be that we are a global point where people from West Africa, from South Africa, from other parts of the world can come to Nairobi and jet to New York under a one-stop system where it's just one way and you are in New York and you are back? Because Emirates came after us. How can we perform better than Emirates? How do we revive our economy? How do we make a lot of money to our treasury? Now we have devolution. We have to spread money to the counties. Yes. We are talking about moving the money from 15% to a minimum of 35%. Where are we going to get that money that we are going to distribute to the counties? We can only do it if there is reconciliation, if we work as a team. If anybody who becomes a president, do not exclude anyone.
Give me a scenario, Bwana Charles. 90 days after Raila Odinga has been sworn in, if at all he wins the presidency come 9th of August.
Not if at all, he will win.
Okay.
Yeah, we pray for him.
All right, absolutely, to all the candidates as well. Yeah. And 90 days into office.
I don't want to speak much for him. I don't know what he thinks, but I can hypothesize that number one interest is to carve an all-inclusive government, a government that is going to have all Kenyans included.
And this is what is in the the back pages of Azimio.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And remember what I just want to take you back to, that President Uhuru has done what is unbelievable to many people's eyes. That's why I think the deputy president is in shock. How? We have been fighting with this man. Yes. How can you? And even the people who are now going to the deputy president's camp, especially from Kiambu, it's out of fear. I believe they fear Raila Odinga. I believe they are imagining this man has suffered for very many years. If he becomes president, what's going to happen? Is he going to take all the money that we have stolen, or the money we have made in our businesses? Are you getting me? Maybe somebody has stolen. He may fear, we may not know. Yes. But also somebody has made his genuine money through business. He may fear. I just want to assure them that Raila Odinga is a reconciliatory person. Despite having been detained by President Moi, they worked together. Despite their differences with President Kibaki, they still work together.
And that is politics.
And even now, they are going to work together with President Kenyatta. So what President Kenyatta has done is to try and unite the country. That people said, a Kikuyu cannot support a Luo. No, it's not a Kikuyu or a Luo. It's about our country. It's about our future.
Yes. Yes. You've said it's going to be de Klerk Mandela kind of scenario, because in South Africa, it's all about what are we supposed to be talking about? De Klerk or Mandela? Because de Klerk brought about his enemy from prison and led that country.
Yes.
So in Kenya, de Klerk is like Uhuru Kenyatta right now.
Not like. Uhuru Kenyatta is the de Klerk.
He's the de Klerk of Kenya.
Because, because he has done what may be considered the most impossible.
The unthinkable.
And people from his community are in shock. I'm sure in the next 2 or 3 months, he's going to explain, and many people are going to understand. Because what he's trying to do, he's making with his dad and his maker. Remember, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga said that they cannot have Kenya without Kenyatta.
Exactly.
And they could not have Uhuru without Kenyatta. And that is what has made us not to have coups in this country. If Jaramogi took over without Kenyatta, we could have easily had coups, like in Uganda and maybe other African countries. But that was a brilliant idea. He never made it to the presidency, but you can see his son most likely is making it to the presidency.
Absolutely.
So what we are saying, and remember, when when Jaramogi was allowing Kenyatta to take over, remember President Uhuru was still in his mother's womb.
Yes.
From prison, from the other part, and brought him here. It's big history. What President Uhuru has done will make him live maybe 20, 30 more years than he would have lived. And it is unfortunate I'm the wrong person to talk about this because I'm a Luo. But you see, even me, despite being a Luo, I'm considered down there as President Kenyatta's person, because you see, I was the spokesperson in all this volatile period. I was the spokesperson in 2013.
Yes.
I was the spokesperson in 2017. And many Luos viewed me as a Kenyatta person. Even some of them are still telling me, wewe ulitua. Hapana, mimi sikuwa nyinyi, ni constitution. So what's happening is that it would also look strange for many of them. Oh, Owino speaks about Raila. No. I'm not a sycophant of anybody, but I talk about facts as they are. That what President Kenyatta has done will shock many people for a very long time. And I am sure Raila Odinga, President Kenyatta is our de Klerk, and Raila Odinga is going to be our Mandela, because I'm sure he's going to leave this country more united. And don't be surprised. Don't be surprised in 2027 or 2032, President Kenyatta and President Raila holding Ruto's hands, the deputy president, and saying, oh, you are the president. You will be shocked, because, and also what we must understand, we need a strong opposition. You know, Kenyan politics, we are pushing it at a very high level.
Right.
Even if the deputy president becomes number 2, he will form a very good opposition leader, because he's very eloquent, he's very sharp, and we need a strong opposition to keep government on toes and on check. Because you know, sometimes you can go to office, if you don't have strong opposition, you may slip. So, and also people around you may take advantage. So we also need a strong opposition, not a weak opposition, because a strong opposition gives you, it's like a pacemaker, and it puts you on check, and it makes you work better. So I'm seeing a situation where deputy president is going to lose this election fairly, and after that I'm seeing a situation where Raila Odinga is going to be a Mandela, and most likely, depending on how deputy president handles himself, because nobody is going to say he cannot oppose if something is wrong in government, that he will just simply support. But I'm seeing, depending on how the Prime Minister Raila Odinga handles his government, and on how Ruto manages himself, deputy president, after this, deputy president may be lucky. In fact, Raila Odinga,
you've said something.
Raila Odinga may just be president for 5 years, and Ruto may be president for 10 years.
You've said something that the president said at KCSC.
Yes.
You know, deputy wangu akibadilisha tabia and what have you, we might consider him. That's exactly what you said. So, you know, hypothetically speaking, maybe it might happen.
You know, I'm a Catholic, and we repent. You make a mistake and you repent, isn't it? And you know, the secret between the president and the deputy, nobody will know. President Kenyatta was brought up in a top secret life. Brought up, taken to school by police riders, isn't it?
Yes.
And unfortunately lost his father at a prime age when he required his father most, at about 17 years, when he was about 17 years old. And he has therefore gained a lot of opportunity. So me, I'm seeing a situation where we are going to unite after August 9th. I know there will be a lot of pressure. I know, like anybody else, Deputy is a very ambitious person. I'm equally a very ambitious person, and I want to believe that he will do well. I want to believe this is not the end of the road for him, but it will be very difficult to beat Raila Odinga, because Raila Odinga has always believed that he has always won, and he has always believed that other factors have denied him. And I think President Uhuru means well.
He means well.
And he's happy. And some of us, we may not need anything from them. We just want a good environment, good security, equity,
yes,
and we run a good economy, and we do business.
I'm tempted to ask you this question, Brother Charles, because in 2013 and 2017, you're speaking for President Kenyatta.
No. I was not a
spokesperson.
No. I was not speaking for President Kenyatta. President Kenyatta has been the President of the Republic of Kenya.
Right.
I have been a law enforcement officer.
Yes.
The duty of a policeman is to enforce laws and regulations as per the Constitution.
Okay.
The legislators make laws, we enforce the laws. Today, you cannot accuse the Inspector General, Mchambai, for any action he undertakes in office in maintenance of law and order, because he's doing it in his capacity as an Inspector General. And he's not working for President Uhuru Kenyatta. He's working for the Republic of Kenya, which President Uhuru Kenyatta is also working for in his capacity as the President. And therefore, as a spokesperson for the police, I was speaking for the whole country, including the opposition. You cannot sleep in your house without security. Police is an important component, and Kenyans must change their attitude towards police. We must have the best police, well-paid police, well-taken care of police, a police that is loved. Let all of us put our love to our policemen. Let's show them that we love them. They do a lot of work. These policemen sleep at night. They spend outside at night when you are here. These policemen are in our borders now as we speak. Our brothers and sisters are in the border of Kenya and Somalia, where we have a lot of problems, where we are losing a number of them, sacrificing for our nation as we sleep at night.
Right.
We must therefore respect the police. We must support the police. That does not mean that if a policeman makes a mistake, we brush it under the carpet. No. But if we want to grow our economy and we want to manage our systems, I've just left the police. Please let Kenyans respect police. Let Kenyans embrace police. Let us support our police service. And we will do very well as a nation. We will do extremely well as a nation. Even issues of corruption in police is not police, it's the society.
When you're in office in 2013 and 2017, and right now, after the handshake, there was a lot of pressure way back then, because, you know, it was all chaos. We lived in that country. As reporters, we were out there reporting the stories. The tension was so high. After the handshake, everything calmed down. What did you take home?
It's basically, most of our problems is ourselves. The tension is caused by divisions. Because you see, after the handshake, the leader of the opposition and the president were walking on the same path. So nobody was inciting people against others. And you can see the way President Uhuru has been embraced in Luo Nyanza, even before they knew that he would support Raila Odinga. And interestingly, if Deputy President William Ruto goes to Kondele, you see the excitement. They still see him as the person who supported Raila Odinga to become Prime Minister of this country. And remember, Raila Odinga is the second Prime Minister of this country. And I know next year we will have the third Prime Minister of this country.
And for the first time, you want to be the governor of Siaya after exiting police service.
Yes.
The transition is... the transition, what just made you quit the service and say, I want to delve into politics?
When I attained 50 years, I felt that for another 10 years, you see, politics is my passion. I love politics for a very long time.
Right.
I have participated indirectly by supporting my friends. I've supported a number of my friends, including my stiff competitor today. My competitor that I believe is still my competitor in Siaya is Honorable James Orengo, who has been my friend. I brought him back to, I negotiated with Wazes and brought him back to ODM in 2007. And we supported him, even with our properties and everything. And we love him so much. As a legislator, he's a serious agitator. But we have a feeling that his age now, and the kind of pressure we have in the village, there's a lot of poverty. And we have a lot of resources in Siaya. And generally in Nyanza, we have a lot of resources. Lake Victoria is resource number 1.
Yes.
In Siaya, we have also Lake Kanyaboli. We have the human capital. We have the best doctors, the best engineers. We have very good weather, 2 seasons in a year.
Yeah.
And that is why my slogan, ni pesa mfukoni na ugali kwa meza. Because we want each and every person to have food.
Right.
And I have the passion of, I'm a farmer for very many years. I farm a lot of fish. I farm vegetables. I sell to schools. I farm chicken and many other things. And we work together with my wife in doing some of these things. And we've made a lot of our money through that. Yeah. And I want to replicate what I do to the people of Siaya. It's not a big transition. A governor is simply an administrator who is going to administrate money and who is not going to be highly political.
Right.
So I want to believe that the people of Siaya are going to elect me. And our election is not even in August. Our election is in April 6th. That is when we are having our nominations.
Right.
Whoever is nominated. And me, if I'm beaten fairly in an election, I'll also shake hand with the person who has beaten me.
And then you continue.
And I support him and we continue.
Right.
Though my competitor has no opportunity to beat me. I'm not chest thumping. It's difficult. It's difficult for him. But you see, politics is politics. Anything can happen.
And Siaya is crowded. We have got, sharp brains and brilliant brains in Siaya. Talk of yourself. Talk of James Orengo. Talk of
Honorable Engineer
Gumbo. We have got so many candidates.
It's not about...
and all of them are in, almost 99% are in ODM and yearning for that particular ticket.
Honorable Gumbo is not in ODM. We are basically in ODM with Orengo because there was fear generally amongst contestants that the party was going just to give Orengo the ticket. So everybody feared. So I decided to put my head on the rail because I think I'm good for my county. I'll push that county to a very high level.
Yes.
Yeah, I have the capacity. I've pushed myself from nothing to what I am today. Yeah, when you're a policeman and you have some little money, people think, oh, this is a thief. Fortunately,
you said you're
much of my time, fine. I worked briefly in CID. I was an instructor at the CID training school most of my time. And after that, I came to police headquarters for 13 years.
Yes.
As a spokesperson, what can you steal? I think, yeah, so what I'm saying is, my competitor has a good opportunity to work with Baba at the national level. I know that. But you see, he has a choice. And him and I don't think we will disagree. We also have a very good competitor, Honorable Gumbo, that I know he will come on another party. And all of us, whoever wins, Siaya wins. It's only that James that we feel is a little bit tired now, and he's done too much work. He's run so much agitation. So we thought that he should be given a softer place to work. But if he chooses to carry stress, to die in office, it will be unfortunate. We don't want to lose James. We want James to live to over 100 years.
Lighter duties, so to speak, if you remember that lighter duties statement. I'm quite interested in understanding because we are running out of time. The issue of insecurity in Rift Valley, parts of Rift Valley. The police, we had former Natembeya, who was there, did a brilliant job in Rift Valley, and we still have bandits. What is happening in Rift Valley, Bwana Charles, from your own understanding?
Initially, the problem of Rift Valley banditry was purely a problem of a cultural problem.
Yes.
One, these are herdsmen who are moving from one place to another, searching for water and pasture. And then when we started having insecurity coups in our neighboring countries, we started getting proliferation of arms. We started getting firearms coming in. So the herders also started having firearms, and they started now stealing animals using their firearms. But basically it was cultural. When you reached an age of initiation, you had to go and steal to get animals to marry. That was the position. Now it has gone beyond cultural. It has even gone commercial. There are people who are sponsoring others to steal animals so that they can sell. But there are solutions to some of these problems. One of the major solutions to some of these problems, one of it is devolution is going to improve that, because now you've seen Turkana is doing very well now. Samburu is improving in terms of infrastructure.
Yes.
So once we manage infrastructure and then we manage to construct more schools, I like what Governor Lonyangapuo is doing in West Pokot. He has put in a lot of money in education.
Yes.
Because what we need to do in these arid, semi-arid areas, we need to do more boarding schools so that we remove these children from the community, even at initiation age.
Yes.
We pull them from school, and I hope Okoro Akwat, who comes from Turkana, can take up this challenge to see how he can get more funds, because he's a beneficiary of having been taken to school as a Turkana and a renowned lawyer, to take up this challenge and also lead in the campaign, so that we do more boarding schools in those areas, exclude children from the villages, take them to school, do more infrastructure, come up with other commercial activities in those areas. And then we have President Museveni has done a lot in
securing the
on
borders.
the upper part,
right,
where he has managed to control the how do we call them? The Ugandans on the other side who are raiding the Karamojongs. He has managed to control the Karamojongs. And I know the president of Ethiopia will help us to manage the Toposos, and then the president of South Sudan also to manage his group, and then our side. So I believe within 10 years, we should be able to do away with banditry completely. Once we have done infrastructure, we have taken children to school, we have secured our borders.
But you see, now it's taking a different turn, because even kids are now being killed. I mean, you know, bandits running riot in the street.
These are just robbers, because I've just told you that it has moved from cultural to a little bit of commercial. That now there could be people sponsoring this group of people to steal animals.
Yes.
But I think with devolution, and if possible by next year, if we manage to get some amendments that were in some of the things that were in the BBI, if we can manage to put some of them in action, where a lot of money can now go to counties, about 35%. And then we stop ukabila, unnecessary ukabila, so that we work together as a team. Everybody to go to his shamba. We stop impunity. You've seen impunity of border borders. We control them, we help them, we support them, and then we limit the number of boys going to activities like border, so that people get involved in other activities. We exclude them. If this happens and we run an economy that is vibrant and we make more money, let us run let us stop tribalism, let us have inclusion, let us include everybody in our government, let everybody work. Hakuna chabure, kila mtu afanye kazi. Let us stop corruption, unnecessary corruption, where an individual amasses too much wealth. I remember the other day I came up with a pay bill, where I was saying, if I get 200,000 people who give me 1,000 shillings today, I'll have 200 million to campaign, the way they have done it in America and the rest. But you see, our people want people to, you can't steal money somewhere, you come and give them, you buy the position, then tomorrow you start again stealing from them. You see that circle. But if we would have a situation where, if you like an MCA candidate or a MP candidate, even if he's poor, you can contribute 500 shillings or 1,000 shillings, so that he does not go back to office to pay back debts that he has, the money that, so people have appetite to make a lot of money, so that when they make a lot of money, they come to elections and they buy people. But let's have an economy that is vibrant, and it can only happen if we manage corruption, tribalism, we have inclusivity, all these sorts of things. Then we run a good economy, we make money. When we are rich, we are going to be happy. We want everybody to have money, so that hakuna mtu anapiga mwingine geta.
No, there's no need. But just so you know, I'm afraid even the director is now in the floor saying, time mekwisha. All right, apparently we have just to close at that particular point. That was our in the headlines, as well as Iron Politics with Charles Owino, who said that enough with the police service, now is going to serve the people of Siaya County on a different capacity as a governor. As always, we wish them all the best. It's a contest, and may the best team win. All right, let's take a break, and we still come back with more after this.
We've got to stick together and live a better life.
Pinky and I are already divorced. She has nothing to do with me anymore. I only have one son right now, and he's Sean. I don't know why you're being so stubborn.
Are you with Pinky right now?
Listen, I'll talk with you later. I gotta go.
Helen, congratulations. You look amazing today.
I'm sorry. The bridegroom may be a bit late.
It's okay. He must be on the way.
Jack, be careful! Pinky doesn't know how to swim! Jack, hurry and save her!
Experience a new history and setting of new records in Stark Arena from the 18th to 20th of March 2022 at the World Athletics Indoor Championships.
Pretty tight out of the blocks, and Coleman now moving away. Christian Coleman challenged late there by Promotional.
More than 1,000 of the world's best athletes will compete for 96 medals across 24 finals during the 3 days of competition in Belgrade, Serbia. Kenya has a formidable team of 10 athletes, amongst them Africa's fastest man, Ferdinand Omanyala. It is going to be a blast, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
Is it true that Mariela didn't marry me because she's in love with you all this time?
The man responsible for this crime will definitely be punished. You can be certain.
You know that I need you now more than ever. I need a woman who loves me. I want you to be that woman for me.
It was you! You killed her! You killed her! You're a murderer! It was you, Demian!
Lying heart. Fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
Nyumba umegeuza klabu.
Hasa wewe shida yako ni nini?
Tuambie ulikuwa na shughuli gani usiku mzima?
Sijielewi. Nasikia ovyo ovyo tu.
Ni maswali gani kuna muuliza mama pale chini mezani?
Haikuhusu hiyo.
Una vita vikali na bado hujajua kujikinga.
Muda wote huu kwa umekuwa kiniadaa.
Nihusu mimi. I don't care. I don't care.
Are you an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
And come and live it up, yeah. Burn, 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 oh, oh, oh. With them I fight me for. bad mind suffer. Never know say man I wanna draw a 97 just.
Minutes past 8 a.m. Welcome back to the program. This is still Good Morning Kenya. Time for us to quickly look at how areas around Westlands as well as Waiyaki Way is looking like this Monday morning. Has anything changed? Is it still the same as how it was? You can remember that earlier on there was barely any kind of heavy traffic on this particular stretch, and this is also particularly around the Westlands roundabout where you'd really be expecting to be seeing or spotting heavy kind of traffic, given it is one of those busy roundabouts. And not forgetting the fact that we had seen, and also there's some sections around this area where there's some bit of construction is still ongoing, so obviously that would be a good reason to be seeing and spotting heavy kind of traffic, but that wasn't the situation. But this is why we keep checking traffic all the time, because right now it has changed. Traffic being witnessed throughout this roundabout, and again specific as you leave CBD, coming all the way to areas of Ojijo Road, Parklands, Westlands, heading all the way to Waiyaki Way as well, to the estates there, areas around Kikuyu, Kino, Kangemi, sections of Lavington as well. So clearly on this stretch as you leave city center, might not really be a good time for you if you're leaving those areas. This is just some of those places where you'd have to make do with that heavy kind of traffic. On the other section or on the other lane, still the same is being witnessed. And again, I told you one of those major reasons to why around or along this area, especially in this early morning hour as well as evening rush hour, one of those major reasons to why you'd really be seeing heavy kind of traffic is simply because it is one of those areas, just like Upper Hill as well as Lower Hill, whereby good number of businesses relocated from the city center to this area. So this is why oftentimes there's really heavy kind of traffic in these two different times. And also particularly what has really informed this entire reconstruction process that we have been seeing on some of these areas. This could be Westlands, which is what you're looking at today, as well as areas around Upper Hill, just to try and make it easy for most of those businesses. And again, this is also the reason as why oftentimes you'd be seeing heavy kind of traffic in the early morning hour as you head over to that lane, which we commonly refer to as that particular stretch that heads over to the estates, which is what you wouldn't see on most of these major roads in this early morning hour, because oftentimes you'd be seeing heavy kind of traffic as you head over to the city center. But on this particular one, this is being witnessed on both sides, or if you may, on both lanes. And again, the reason just is the same. Nothing is changing, still heavy kind of traffic. In fact, in some sections, not moving at all, just at a standstill. So if you're leaving your houses, then along these areas, which I'm just mentioning, is where you'd have to make do that heavy kind of traffic, particularly on both lanes. But around areas of James Gishuru, where the expressway gets to terminate at this morning, not bad at all. This is as you head over to areas of Lavington there, particularly on that stretch, moving at a very swift pace. So again, if you're coming from areas of Uthiru, perhaps Kikuyu, Kino, Kangemi, and also the outskirts of Nairobi, obviously counties of Western and Nyanza, up until the roundabout is where you'd have to make do with that traffic. Past there, looks like it's not bad at all. In fact, even before that stretch, green all through, just in between one of those slip roads there. This is the old Waiyaki Way up until the Westlands roundabout, is just where there's really heavy kind of traffic. But also I've told you, remember that expressway is still taking shape, and around this area quite a number of activities, so perhaps also that could be a very good reason as to why we are seeing this heavy kind of traffic. But away from that area, coming all through these other sections, not bad at all, moving at a very swift pace. Again, also areas around Kabete, Mountain View, still not bad at all, moving at a very fast pace there. So clearly, just like what we saw earlier, around areas of Westlands as well as Parklands or Ojijo Road, and also some sections around the roundabout, just where there's really heavy kind of traffic, and also particularly on one of those slip roads that gets to branch off from that major roundabout. That is the Ring Road, Westlands Road. That is also where there's really heavy kind of traffic. In fact, on this stretch is actually on both lanes. Again, also one of those major slip Road. So particularly this is why we're seeing that heavy kind of traffic there. So clearly again, also one of those reasons as to why we're checking on this stretch is simply because you clearly know we still have the expressway taking shape, and this is one of those areas where it gets to cut through. So obviously it will lead to the kind of traffic that we are seeing. But away from the roundabout, as you head over to the city center, just before you get to Chiromo there, I'm still moving at a very swift pace, but around areas of Chiromo, at a standstill, not moving at all. Remember also around this area, it is also a bus terminus. So again, clearly, this is part of what we would expect to see. So obviously quite a number of activities, particularly on that stretch that is leaving city center, heading over to those areas that I mentioned. That is just this heavy kind of traffic. On the other stretch, no traffic at all, moving at a very, very swift pace there. That is how it is looking like this morning around areas of Westlands. And like I mentioned, one of those major reasons why we checked on this stretch or this route is just again to simply try and see how the expressway is taking shape and how it is impacting or affecting traffic on some of these roads that it gets to cut through. That is how it is looking like around the areas of Westlands as well as Waiyaki Way.
Thank you for staying with us this far. We continue with the day's discussion, and right now we want to move on to the next part of this discussion, which is in line with our family conversations for the day, and this is all about decolonialization of, or rather, cultural heritage. What does this encompass? What are we talking about? Sit tight. You're about to get to learn more in regards to this discussion, and to help us understand this discussion better, we have with us, I'll start with the lady with me on stage. We have Mukami Kowino, who is the Deputy Country Director working with the British Council here in Kenya. Good morning, Mukami, and welcome.
Morning, Jane.
Thank you for being with us today. All right, and next to her, we have Professor Kimani Njogu, who is the Director at Twaweza Communications. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Thank you for making time to be with us today.
Such a pleasure, I tell you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Remember, you can also be part of this conversation. We are using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. My handle is the Jane Wamboy, so feel free to send those questions, comments, or if you're just seeking clarification, feel free to send that through as well. Now, decolonialization and cultural heritage. When somebody just hears that terminology, they come up with their own understanding of what that could mean. But let me start, let me come to you, Professor. Given you are the Director at Twaweza Communications, give us a condensed description or just brief of what Twaweza Communications is all about.
So Twaweza Communications is a media, arts and culture institution. We are based in Nairobi, and basically working with the creative sector as well as the cultural sector generally, to explore ways in which we can improve our work and contribute towards national development. So we publish Jahazi, an arts and culture and performance journal, which comes out on a regular basis. The most recent issue related to returning the artifacts to Africa, which are located in Europe, and we had a previous one on COVID-19 and the ways in which it affected the creative sector. We also work very closely with government agencies, so the Department of Culture, for example, to really help them again come up with policies and regulations and frameworks to enhance the culture, the creative sector, as well as working with the Kenya Copyright Board to ensure that our creatives are also getting the benefits from their creative work. So we work in these areas. We also do research on arts and culture as well as media. I mean, with regard to media, for example, we have built a framework for protection of journalists in situations of conflict and so on. So we have a manual that actually supports journalists, guides them around. So that's what we do. Of course, I mean, my training is in Kiswahili and African languages. So we work quite deeply with our languages. ways to enhance their role in national transformation. So that's what we do at Waweza Communications.
Fantastic. So tukianza kuongea Kiswahili sanifu
nitakuwa nimebobea kabisa.
Fantastic. Now let me come to you, Mukami. You're the Deputy Country Director working with the British Council. Tell us a bit about the department that you represent.
Thank you. So the British Council, it's a big institution, but it is the cultural relations institution for the UK. And we mainly we work in 3 areas.
Yes.
We work in the arts, we work in education, and in English. So in the arts, which is what we're here to discuss, we support a lot of work on cultural heritage for inclusive growth, cultural protection fund that looks into protecting, preserving, conserving what we have, and we'll of course get into more details around this. But we also support creatives in a lot of work to do with creative enterprise. We have got funds, we are working in partnership with other organizations to support creatives across not only just Kenya but the wider East Africa, for them to be able to reach their best potential. I mean, we have fashion, we have got music, we've got film. There is so much that is in that area. And in the Department of Education, we are doing a lot of work with universities, supporting them in innovation, in technology, how they're able to transfer this, not only engaging at the policy level and at an institutional level, but also for it to get down at the student level for them to understand. There's also some work we do around schools, supporting institutional development, professional development of teachers, working with Ministry of Education. There is a lot there. And of course, English. I mean, it is the British Council.
You know?
Yes. So getting as many people as possible to not only understand the language, but also the professional examinations around the IELTS.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now that brings us now to something that you have both mentioned, which is the center of this conversation today, all about culture and heritage and just how we can make it more accessible and preserve it. Let me start with you, Professor. What you are working together with the British Council in regards to this project, but where did it start from? What is the background on this particular project?
So we are, as an institution, very interested in the phenomenon of decolonization because of our understanding that before Europe got into Africa, there existed cultures. So, you know, the pre-colonial cultures.
Pre-colonial Africa.
Yeah, pre-colonial Africa. It had a vibrant culture, it had kingdoms, it had all sorts of things that it was doing. It had its foods, it had its values and systems and institutions that kind of governed that. So at the institutional level, we are very, very interested in this. And then, of course, there is the encounter with Europe, the colonial period, you know, which had a fundamental effect on us in terms of introducing other values, including the English language, you know, for example, as well as institutions of the state and so on. And then, of course, the post-colonial period where we, as Kenyans or as Africans, are kind of in charge of the state, as it were. Okay? So at the institutional level, we are very interested in this issue. And our interest also is how do you bring more inclusivity in the affairs of the state, and what's the role of culture? And for us, culture is always a question of how we live our lives. So you have religious culture, for example. You have food culture. You have economic culture. You have all these types of cultural, points of reference. Points of reference. So when the British Council, and we worked with the British Council before, we had a symposium in 2020 in which again we discussed again, culture for inclusive growth. So how do you bring in culture to include everybody in the growth trajectory? So really the current symposium that will be held this week is a continuation of a conversation that started a while back. And again, really to encourage reflection more on what culture can actually do, because people sometimes forget that even Europe itself is driven by cultural assumptions. You know, I mean, there are certain ideas, cultural ideas that drive Europe and drive America. So what are those cultural ideas that drive Africa? And how can we make those ideas more inclusive, even as we are interrogating the bad aspects of our culture? Because we need to interrogate those also.
We need to be truly honest with ourselves.
Yeah, we have to be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
And also with Europe itself. It needs to be honest with itself in terms of its history. They need to be also looking inside and saying, do we have space for decolonization of Europe itself? Or decolonization of America itself on account of its history? Do they know the whole history of their country, or don't they know the whole history of their country? So the conversation is really about what Africa needs to do to anchor culture, to understand it more, to include it in its socio-economic transformation, but also for Europe and the Americas, and as well as Asia really, also to think about the extent to which they are using culture and the extent to which they are using their histories to become better. So the essence is, how can we become better human beings by reaching out to each other and understanding each other?
Going back to
going back again.
Book.
Yes, and learning from the past. Because we can never run away. We have to be able to deal with it. You can, for example, say, the past was bad and so forth and so on. But there are certain critical aspects of that knowledge that needs to be at play now.
Yes.
If you look at what we have experienced with COVID-19, we know, for example, that people who have, pre-existing conditions, diabetes, hypertension, and so forth and so on, some of those would have been dealt with or minimized by going back to our food systems, traditional food systems, which existed prior to the colonial experience. And maybe there's something to be learned there. Can we go back to our foods, to our traditional foods, and see, can they help us minimize the non-communicable diseases?
These lifestyle diseases that we are
currently struggling with. Yes.
Now, let me come to you, Mokami. Given Professor has mentioned this is the second time working together, and maybe you can even just, tell us, what your experience has been representing the council in line with sharing the knowledge also with the rest of the team and just contributing to this particular cause in a way that actually resonates with the cultural targets that we're looking to get here.
So working at the British Council, I think one of the things that we fully appreciate is that we have got a complex past. However, our futures are diverse, and we have got very many opportunities. We are not saying that we will not look back to see what it is that we can learn. And I mean, culture is all about that. It's about human experiences. We look at the past to see what has happened. Then we in the present are the ones who continue the heritage, the stories, the folklore, the songs, and we pass it on to the next generation. And so we see for ourselves here an opportunity. There is so much in our past. The mythologies, the stories that have championed a lot of our hero stories. When we are young, we are told about what has happened or what happened in your community, a relative you did not know, great-great-grand someone was a king, you know.
You are the descendants of so-and-so.
Yes. And sometimes these are things that are lost with our current technology. However, young people are going back, they're asking questions, they want to know more. With globalization, the world has opened up. We have more stories. If I use Netflix as an example, the Viking story is told. I mean, there are like 7 or so shows that are just focusing on that, and I'm only using one platform. But where are the stories of Shaka? Where are the stories of our Kenyan heroes? This is an opportunity that we have. First, for that knowledge to pass from one generation to another, but also even with the entertainment, it's an opportunity to make money for the filmmakers, for the storytellers, but also continuing with the heritage. And it keeps changing because it's not static. And it is also influenced by what is happening in every year, every generation. And as Prof was making reference to the pandemic we are all slowly coming out of, we are surviving, is that it has also changed how we we perceive our own culture. We are a social people. Never did we think that no greetings, you know, we need
You'd
to
actually survive.
Distance. You need to wear your mask.
Yes.
You cannot have the social parties. I think the Christmas for 2020 was so depressive because so many people did not have an opportunity to do those traditions for your family, the mbuzi, the get-togethers, just the different things that we do.
Yes.
So there is an opportunity here to work with communities, and that what is most important for us is that this work is people-centered.
Yes.
Working at the British Council, I'm very alive to the fact that it may come off as, so the colonialists want to tell you what to think, what to do. No. It's driven by the people themselves. These are the conversations we want to have. We have amazing young people who, if I use one, Harriet Botanicals, as a result of just menstrual challenges with her reproductive health, just decided, no, I'm not the first one to go through this. So she went back to her home village, just find out what were women using. And she did not even need to talk to great someone. It's just a grandmother, an auntie here, someone within the community. These are the hubs we have used. And she has actually been able to use those, do studies. She's in the process of intellectual property, registering that if I'm not wrong, or maybe she has already gotten it. And a number of women are benefiting from this. So there is really, there is a lot. And what is amazing is that with this media and age of, we have so many young people, it's fantastic that they're taking an interest, they're taking advantage of the opportunities and the learnings. And organizations like Tuaweza, organizations like Africa Digital Heritage, who are now working to change those stories from just myths and documenting them, putting them in platforms that are accessible to you and I. We have, I see a lot of things also happening on social media. People are using TikTok, Instagram to educate themselves. So these are great opportunities I see for us. And the symposium we had in 2020 was looking at yesterday, today, and the future. And now, carrying from that, we are now delving deeper into these decolonizing narratives.
Now, you know, whenever culture is mentioned, the first thing that comes to mind is either clothing or food. And that, in a way, sort of limits our understanding of what cultural heritage is. And that could be the first challenge that we are facing when it comes to going back to our roots. So let me come to you, Professor Njogu. When we talk about cultural heritage, what are these representations, both tangible and intangible, that actually point towards cultural heritage that we might not be as alive to?
Yeah, so first of all, actually, before I get to that, I really want to build on something that Mukami has mentioned.
Feel free.
With regard to the ways in which stories from the North, the global North, sometimes dominate our space. And it occurred to me that we have amazing stories of Luanda Magere from the Luo Nyanza. And I would imagine that if you have an animation, you know, of Luanda Magere.
A representation.
So you have the story, you have a very powerful story, which now becomes animated and made available globally. Or if you go to the Swahili coast, you have the story of Fumo Liongo, who was an amazing, he was actually the Shaka of East Africa, you know, really, lived in the 16th century. So I'm imagining a situation where suddenly Fumo Liongo becomes animated and made available globally, you know, an amazing opportunity for young people to tell stories from their communities by drawing on the archive, the memory of our people. So cultural heritage, of course there are different dimensions to cultural heritage. So you have the tangible cultural heritage, so you have, which would of course include the spaces, you know, the monuments that bring back memory of the past, the paintings in our caves and so on, the sites of spiritual spirituality, because our people are also very spiritual. So where did they do, where did they commune with the gods and so on? And these spaces are very, very important.
Yes.
So you have all these both movable and immovable cultural heritage, which is, and some of it is actually underwater. It's actually subterranean. So we need to be able to go back and say what exists, on the under the waters that is part of our heritage, and how can we benefit from it. But then, of course, we have the intangible heritage, which is also, for example, the issue of languages, and one of the positions that one needs to take in the decolonization process is to say that all languages that exist in the world are needed, because language itself is a carrier of histories, values, philosophies, and so forth, wisdoms which we can, waviele walisema, and so on.
Wahenga.
So yeah, wahenga walisema, walisema, this is what they said.
Yes.
Kuanguka, kuteleza si kuanguka, when you sleep you have not fallen, you can still pick up yourself and move on. So the languages that we have, the celebrations, at different moments, we see during marriages, currently the traditional marriages, people are now going back to that.
And acknowledging
its legitimacy, very, very important. And the stories that Mukami talked about, these stories and the drama that accompanies those stories, And I think that our children have a right to experience that. So the heritage is, and I think it's also very important to recognize that culture is not static, something that's very, very dynamic. So we have urban culture, for example. So the Matatu culture is part of our heritage to the extent that it is solidifying, lifestyle in our urban areas. So it's not static, something that constantly being evolving. There are certain cultural heritage aspects that we leave behind because of new knowledge. There are things that now we know that this is not good, especially with regard to the ways in which women are treated and so on, and that we can actually do cultural engineering. We can do cultural engineering to shift culture a little and make it better. And so it has all these elements. So the element of film. I mean, I would love, for example, for us to be able to archive the history of KBC as part of our national heritage. It's a public broadcaster.
Yes.
This is our national broadcaster, So what's the history of KBC from the 1950s to the present, And how has it been evolving and so on? What music played in? I used to write for KBC radio as a young man. You might not know this. I used to write Ushikwapo Shikamana. I was the writer of an amazing soap opera, and Tausi with Ashina Kibibi. I mean, we used to work together.
Yes.
So we need to have, these are part of our heritage in terms of our literary history. So cultural heritage is not something that is fixed and static and kind of immovable. No. It can be shifted. So that's the conversation that we have. And I think this week when we discuss at the symposium, we'll be looking at the ways in which digitization, information technology can be activated to serve cultural heritage even better.
Yes.
For the future and so on.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now that actually brings me to some of these challenges that we are facing in this day and time that actually inhibit or are in the way when it comes to fully accessing our cultural heritage. And Director, are we taking a break? Kama tuendele? All right. Director says this is going so well, we need to take a very quick breather. Remember, we are still using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya. We take a very quick breather. We'll be back to continue with this discussion. Do stay with us.
Are you an aspiring candidate in the upcoming general elections? Do you want your agenda and manifesto to reach your voters effectively? At KBC, we have the most comprehensive and credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
Nyumba umegeuza klabu.
Hasa wewe shida yako ni nini?
Tuambie mlikuwa na shughuli gani usiku mzima?
Sijielewi. Nasikia ovyo ovyo tu.
Ni maswali gani kuna muuliza mama pale chini mezani?
Haikuhusu hiyo.
Una vita vikali na bado hujajua kujikinga.
Muda wote huu kwa umekuwa kiniada.
Nihusu mimi? I don't care. I don't care.
Welcome back. We are glad you are still keeping us company. This is Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Wamboy. Remember, talk to us. Use the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. My handle is at Jane Wamboy. And again, today we're talking about cultural heritage. How can we make it more accessible to both you and I? And helping us with this conversation, we still have Mukami Kowino, who is the Deputy Country Director working with the British Council. We also have Professor Kimani Njogu, who is the Director at Troweza Communications. Now, let me start. Come to you, Mukami. Just before the break, we wanted to get into the next aspect of this conversation, and this is all about the gaps that have been identified when it comes to access to cultural heritage and the whole, this whole side of the divide. And I want to start with something that you had actually mentioned a bit earlier in line with globalization and westernization, the fact that the world has become a global village.
Yeah.
How has this, stood in the way in one way or the other when it comes to accessing cultural heritage?
Cultural heritage is under attack. I think, not to candy coat it, it's under attack from climate change, it's under attack from global challenges, social pressures. We need to get rid of some of our natural heritage, like trees that are indigenous to certain communities, because we need to make space for people, roads. We have encroachment into some of our historical sites and protected sites like our forests. So what this program is doing is supporting communities to be able to be part of the solution. So we have got what we call protecting and valuing. If I'll give an example of using one of our partners, the Book Bank, and they have been working to restore Macmillan and the other one is Kaloleni, if I've gotten the word correctly. It's been a library that's been with us for years, and very few people actually even just walk in there. However, there is so much historical information in there, photographs from back in the day when Roosevelt visited the country. I mean, I didn't even know about that. And they have been able to do a lot of archiving, transforming some of the information into digital, making it more and more accessible. But things like just the air itself, there's a lot of things that books in there that they need to be protected. You need to keep the room in certain temperatures. But where is the money coming from to be able to do such things? And so there's need, even as we're discussing some of these challenges, to have more financing into cultural heritage. And what British Council is doing is the financing that it is supporting is in that protecting and valuing, supporting digitalization. Culture was devolved to county governments, but where is the capacity? If here at the National Museum, of course they're doing a great job working hard to be able to protect what we have got, but at the county level you're competing with many other what are perceived to be important and priority issues. Like health, of course, it is an important thing. However, even at the community level we have got cultural things that need to be protected. We have got communities that are doing a lot, and we know that when it comes to culture, it's a product of generation, one generation to the next, to the next, to the next, and we cannot silence, for example, the voices of the women who seem to be outliving the men, so they remain to be the custodians of some of these stories and information. And if we do not give them an opportunity and an avenue for them to be able to tell these stories, because maybe some of our retrogressive cultural thoughts are that, you know, women are not the ones who are supposed to be talking, it's supposed to be men. We are also competing with climate, the rising sea levels. They are posing a challenge in Mombasa for Fort Jesus, but it is what it is. So how can we support those communities? They were doing this before, protecting their own heritage sites. How then can we support them? Because they know what works. They know, do we need to plant certain trees around this? This is what we can do, so that then we do not need to come with our current construction materials and then end up
will work.
Degrading that particular area even more. And we also worked with the HIVA fund. They were supporting, giving seed grants to a number of smaller cultural activists, let me call them that, for them to build more, strengthen the knowledge that they have. And because younger people are now more into the digital space, then they are able to digitize it and even move more into creative entrepreneurship. So the challenges and barriers, we need to be able to address them. We need more funding, we need more community awareness, we need more intergenerational conversations so that this information is not lost, and we need to be able to record for posterity. Even certain languages like the Mijikenda, I think from the 2019 census there are about 2.4 million, but if I were to ask how many are Ribe within that, the Mijikenda, we are not able. But do we have these languages recorded somewhere for posterity? And there is a lot, and of course Prof can add on to this, but there is so much more.
And also that's the other aspect when it comes to the erosion of language, and that is our mother tongues, because we're living in a time where, again, the world is opening up, the world is becoming a global village, and languages are a barrier but are still the main form of communication. How is it faced what challenges is language facing that contribute to the eroding of our cultural heritage?
So it is true that, with globalization, it's becoming more and more of a challenge for African languages to kind of even survive because of the power of certain languages. So you have French, for example, is extremely powerful, English very powerful, Spanish, and so on, and Arabic, and because these other languages, European languages, are more powerful, and they also are the root to opportunities, not just local opportunities, but actually also global opportunities. It becomes beneficial for young people to learn these languages so that they can actually navigate the world. Now, so what happens in that case is that you end up having a hierarchy of languages. So, certain languages are more powerful, they are more prestigious, they have bigger status and so on. And then others are less so. They have less status, less prestige, and less opportunity. And within that type of situation, because of the competing, interests, people tend to discourage the learning of African languages, or which are really also very, very critical. The way to deal with this in terms of increasing access to the knowledge that is found in African languages is really to provide an opportunity for young people to learn these languages wherever they are, and that we are consciously transferring these languages within the educational system, for example. And I studied linguistics, and I know that you can master numerous languages without any language undermining the other. So you can be very proficient in 10 languages and be able to navigate with those 10 languages easily. Of course, people tell me, but Kimani, our kids are already overburdened. You want them to learn African languages. They're already learning too much. But the brain is programmed in a manner that allows that child, so long as you're giving them exposure, to learn our language. So that is really one of the challenges that we have with regard to accessing our languages, the competition and the lack of transfer. If you take a language like Yaku, actually Yakunte, which is the language of the Yaku community in Baringo, in the Baringo area, there are only 7 people who speak it, fluently. You look at other language, El Molo, and you look at Boni, at the coast. You look at Suba. Most of these languages are actually endangered. They are disappearing very fast. Africa has about 2,000 languages, and about 40% of those languages are likely to disappear over time. And if you take the view that with the disappearance of every language, you have the disappearance of knowledge and values, and even like what you talked about, because I know Harriet Botanicals, they're doing amazing work with herbal medicine.
Yes.
And the Maasai community also have amazing knowledge on traditional treatments. Once that language disappears, we don't have access anymore to that knowledge. So I think with regard to how we can increase access is to look back at our educational system and to say, okay, so this is the educational system that we have. How can we create opportunities for learning, of our languages for those children who are interested?
Yes.
And even adults who are interested, because there are some adults who would like to learn another language. I grew up in Kericho. I would love to be very proficient in Ekegusi, because I speak Kipsigis, a little bit, and I speak a little bit of Dolu, and I speak a little bit of Gekoyo and a few other languages. I'm sure there are many adults who would like to learn another African language.
Yes.
So how do we create those opportunities? And I can tell you, within 3 months, if you are given the opportunity, you can actually learn the language, and you can be very proficient in it, and you can tap onto that knowledge system. So that's work to be done.
It is work to be done. One thing that I know the ministry is actually doing, just looking at this term that the kids have closed, it was part of the NEC requirements for every school under the CBC curriculum in grade 3, the kids had the project this time was to learn a song in your mother tongue, put on the whole regalia, go the whole 9 yards, know the foods that your particular tribe associates with. And I think that is a step in the right direction. Now that brings me to political goodwill in our country in line with the challenge that we are facing, and also sort of a double-edged sword. One side is the challenge, on the other hand, it can actually go a long way when it comes to cultural preservation. Let me hear from you, Mukami. Understanding the role that the government and the whole political space has to play when it comes to stepping into the conversation, funding, of course, coming into this whole point of conversation.
Thank you, Jane. We all have a role to play.
Yes.
And I think the government more so.
And of all course, the politicians.
All of us.
Yes.
I think every one of us has got a responsibility in protecting their heritage. And in this conversation, when we look at political goodwill, sometimes also we need to look at why is there no political goodwill? Because part of it is because the communities are not aware of what is missing from their own communities, because either it left before they were even born, or because we have several versions of this. We do not feel that whatever has left the country has degraded us that much. So I think with what Twaweza and other organizations are doing in that sharing, creating awareness, not only for the policymakers, but also for communities, so that there is ownership at the community level, because there is a reciprocity.
There we go.
It's too early in the morning.
It is well.
It is the communities do a better job of holding their own leaders accountable than non-governmental organizations who will come and leave, because then they will continue with this. And this is one of the best things about devolution, is that once you have built the capacity of this community to understand
at the ground level,
yes, that this is what you require, this is what is missing, there is a part of your heritage that is not there, then they are able to keep their own leaders accountable, they are able to make demands. It is that civic participation that they require.
Yes.
So that when we are doing the county integrated development plan, now that we are going into new governments, for majority of them, you will voice out that we have got the following heritage sites, or we have got artifacts, we have got songs, we've got stories that require this kind of support. And so then the political goodwill starts. It is a process, it is a journey that we continue with. And I think even as Professor was talking about this decolonization, it's also, I think also at our level, we ourselves as Africans, we require this artifacts, we require to document these stories. This is our heritage, that ownership, and the insistence that the older generation communicate, continue to share with the present generation, and this present generation shares with the future generation. This is how we're going to get it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, as we bring to close this particular aspect when it comes to challenges, and I'd like just to hear from you, Prof, very briefly. Our country is in a space where we're seeing a lot of infrastructural development, and in one way or the other, it could infringe or destroy some of this cultural heritage. You have seen the amount of trees that needed to be leveled just for the Nairobi Expressway. When it comes to controlled development and urbanization, how can we also factor in the preservation of our culture?
Great question. Very, very good question. I mean, so Africa is the fastest urbanizing, continent on Earth. We are urbanizing very, very fast with infrastructure and so on. And we normally do environmental assessment studies before we do infrastructure.
Yes.
We look at environmental assessment. We look, is the ground likely to hold this better and so forth. I think it's time now to start doing a cultural assessment studies to do an impact. What is the infrastructure going to do to the cultural spaces? And this is it has to be very purposive, that in the design of our development, our urban development, our infrastructure development, we need to map the historical sites, and that our development is organized around
it to accommodate.
Yeah, so that when I'm moving between Nairobi and, say, Kisumu, what can I see that is culturally significant? What are those points of stopping that I can actually stop and enjoy, the cultures of the communities that live around, around the highway and so on. And if you look at like Nairobi, what are those, when a tourist comes, or say anybody from our rural areas, when they come to Nairobi, what are those cultural, spaces that they can retreat to learn about Nairobi and our country and so on? So I think that is again the whole question of political goodwill.
Yes.
Have we integrated culture in our national development agenda systematically, deliberately, and so on, or do we see it as a footnote to our, economic transformation? I think that once you revise the relationship between culture and socioeconomic development, and you see culture as integral to socioeconomic transformation, then you will do urban planning very well.
Yes, and not that we do not appreciate all the infrastructural development that we have seen as a country. I mean, you can go to any part of the country and find a tarmac road, and we appreciate that as a people, but we also need to factor in the cultural aspects of these areas that we're also trying to access when we are going on with the construction. Now let's, due to the interest of time, move on to the symposium. It is set to happen. Let me start with you, Mukami.
Thank you. So the symposium is starting on the 16th. We have some events in the evening. Then on the 17th and on the 18th, we will be at the Kenya National Museum, Botanical Gardens. And it is a very integrated symposium. So we are going to have some face-to-face engagement, but we're also going to be live on Zoom, on YouTube, on Facebook, so that we are able to have more discussions and involve more people who are not able to physically be into this space. And the theme for this year is decolonization and cultural heritage in Africa. So the last one has built onto this when we were looking at yesterday, today, and the future. So here what we are looking at is restitution of cultural heritage in Africa. We are going to have professionals, academics, researchers. We will have in the room practitioners themselves. It will be a very intergenerational conversation that also will look into issues of community engagement when it comes to heritage in Africa. How do we work on indigenous knowledge, transferring that? We have got so much information, not only in the music and in the natural heritage. We also have food that is synonymous with certain communities, and we are able to learn. We are able to evolve and dissect this whole story. And because decolonization is viewed as a continuous issue within our political, our economic, our spiritual spheres, we see this as a great opportunity to chart a way forward. We see this as an opportunity for some commitments from the policymakers. We see this also as an opportunity for regenerating interest amongst the young people to move forward and to champion some of these things.
Fantastic. And also, Prof, looking at this symposium, you had mentioned it's the second one. What can everyone who will be present expect?
Well, I think they are going to expect, some direction in terms of what needs to be done at the community level. For example, what can families do? What can communities do? What can the youth do? I mean, our youth are really gifted in terms of technology and innovation, and we will actually be having very interesting discussion on the digitization of cultural heritage. So we have participants such as Google Kenya and others who will come in to show how they are doing it, and our young people can actually learn that.
Okay.
We'll also be listening from government agencies in terms of the type of regulations that they are putting forward to protect, our heritage and to safeguard it and so on.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be a very, very vibrant conversation. We've hooked in people from the diaspora. So we have participants, we have at least voices from the UK, we have voices from Australia. The voice from Australia is actually a Kenyan who is based in Australia, and we have a West African based in the UK who will also be in conversation with us. So I think they will expect they should expect a very dynamic conversation that starts paving the way to ways in which cultural heritage can become really part of our national transformation.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, as we close this conversation, somebody is watching it, they're like, okay, Twaweza Communications, the British Council, these are grand entities championing this conversation around cultural and heritage conservation. But as a common mwananchi, what can I do? Where can I start? What would you advise when it comes to such? The little things that we can do that add, haba na haba hujaza kibaba.
I think I would say one of what is closest to you, I'd say start sharing. It's in the talking, it's in the connections, in the exchange of information and ideas. Whatever has been your heritage, what you know to be your heritage. Also, I'll encourage people to become a bit more inquisitive. Ask questions, find out how it was done. Before social media, how was it that people were communicating? We were told in school about smoke signals.
How did they direct those smoke signals?
And I think one of our greatest treasures as a country is as a result of heritage.
Yes.
Our national anthem was a Pokomo lullaby. So I forget his name, Prof. You could remind me, the one who wrote it.
I can't remember.
Is that he had a lullaby, it stayed with him, and when we were writing the national anthem, that is the tune. It is one of our greatest treasures as a country. Oh, wow. So you never know, your greatest hit might just come from your culture. For young people who are always on TikTok and all these other socials. So there are great opportunities as we look into our own culture.
And also the same question to you, Prof. The little things that we can start to do in the spaces that we are that contribute towards the conservation of our cultural heritage.
I think the starting point for me is attitude. To say, let's shift our attitude and see our heritage not as something that is meant for tourists. It's something that's meant for us. And that it's rich and it has dignity and that we can access it. So we change our attitude towards cultural heritage. And then let us document. Because, we live in very different spaces. Can you seize the opportunity of where you are to start documenting and recording that which exists? Many of us have smartphones. Can you record the stories of your community using the phone that you have, the stories that you hear, and let's archive that. So these are little things that you can actually do. Learning another language, not just your mother tongue, learning yet another Kenyan language, even just the greetings and so on. That's also good. So there are those little things that we can actually do individually that will have the cumulative effect of really putting culture at the center. The country has a National Culture Day, which was declared by cabinet. Can we on that day celebrate our culture, wherever we are, instead of letting it just pass by?
All right.
Yeah.
It starts with the little things. Even as parents, learn to say some words or two to your children in your mother tongue so that they can actually know this means that. My daughter knows Shamora. She knows what it means. But at that point we have to bring this conversation to a close. We have been talking all about making cultural heritage more accessible to both you and I, and the role that we all have to play. We have been speaking with Mokami Kowino, who is the Deputy Country Director working with the British Council. We also have Professor Kimani Njogu, who is the Director at Twaweza Communications. Thank you very much, lady and gent, for being with us today.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Now, we are not done with Good Morning Kenya. We take a very quick breather. We will be back with the next discussion. To stay with us.
Thank you very much.
Is it true that Mariela didn't marry me because she's in love with you all this time?
The man responsible for this crime will definitely be punished. You can be certain.
You know that I need you now more than ever. I need a woman who loves me. I want you to be that woman for me.
It was you! You killed her! You killed her! You're a murderer! It was you, Demian!
Lying. Sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
In the future, we've got to stick together and live a better life.
Minky and I are already divorced. She has nothing to do with me anymore. I only have one son right now, and he's Sean. I don't know why you're being so stubborn.
Are you with Pinky right now?
Listen, I'll talk with you later. I gotta go.
Helen, congratulations. You look amazing today. I'm sorry. The bridegroom may be a bit late.
It's okay. He must be on the way.
Jack, be careful! Pinky doesn't know how to swim! Jack, hurry and save her!
To fully understand the automotive repair process, let's go into one of the garages that deals with restoring damaged cars. When the gates open to a client, the car is immediately booked and documented. In this stage, the mechanic also inspects the vehicle to assess the damage.
We inspect the vehicle, we write everything the client wants us to do. After that, we begin the process.
Step 2 is the disassembly or the tearing down of parts to prepare the vehicle for repair.
When I say stripping the car, we first remove the number plates. After removing the number plates, we remove the headlights, the bumpers. So the reason why we are removing the headlights and the bumpers is to be sure with the panels, the right fitting, the right setting, then we start panel beating.
Next comes the sanding before the paintwork begins.
We use sandpapers, and the sandpapers are fine sandpapers, but they have different grades with different levels.
Paint preparation is a very important step in the process. During this step, the paint specialist prepares the paint to ensure the highest quality finished product.
So I have to check if there are pinholes, I have to check if the panel beaters did a good job, if the preparation guys did a good job, so that I can give a go-ahead the car to be painted.
Then comes the actual painting.
We change the color of the vehicle if the client instructs us or requests us to do so.
Once the painting has been done, the car is then buffed with a specific wax and polished.
So there are different levels when you do buffing, polish, and color correction. We use advanced wax and polish. We use local products, but also we import some other products to improve our results, to improve the shine of the vehicles.
The car is cleaned at every stage of the buffing.
So after final polish, we clean the car again without soap. If the client wants the car to be ceramic coated, we will ceramic coat.
Thereafter, it is inspected, and if confirmed to have been restored to its pre-damage condition, the work is termed as complete, awaiting pickup by the owner.
And that is the process of automobile body repair. Reporting for KBC from Ngara in Nairobi County, I'm Nisi Emano.
All right, welcome back. We continue with the day's discussion. We move on to the next family conversation for the day, and this is all about the establishment of sexual and gender-based violence specialized courts, which is a project that has been done under the International Association of Women Judges. We are still in that space where we are celebrating International Women's Day just in the past week, but in line with that, we're also going to be taking note of the first ever International Day of Women Judges that was actually marked on the 10th of this month. Given it was the first one, it is definitely a way to acknowledge and honor women judges here in our country. Now, this is a conversation that we're going to be having with a lady judge who will be with us in just a bit, and we welcome you to share with us your thoughts in regards to this. The hashtag we are using is Good Morning Kenya. At KBC Channel 1 ever remains to be the official station handle. My handle is at JaneMaboy. If you have any questions in regards to this conversation, feel free to send them through. We will be addressing them as and when they do come in. I know you've already gotten a sneak peek of who our guest is this morning, but let me now just rope her in. Again, as I mentioned, we have a lady judge with us in this studio this morning. That is Lady Justice Maureen Anyango, who is the principal judge at the Employment and Labor Relations Court. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for welcoming me to
Karibu sana. Now, first things first, we want to start to even help our viewers understand what the International Association of Women Judges, the Kenyan chapter specifically, is all about, because for some of us, they didn't even know there was an association for women judges. Tell us a bit about it.
So the International Association of Kenya, the International Association of Women Judges, the Kenya chapter, is actually an old association. It was established in 1993.
Yes.
When there were only 2 women judges in Kenya, that is Lady Justice Effie Owuor and Lady Justice Joyce Alwoch. And even the magistrates were very few. The women magistrates were very few. So it was started by the 2 judges, lady judges, and Justice Nambuye, Roslyn Nambuye, who is still in the judiciary.
Yes.
She's now the senior most judge in the judiciary. She's in the Court of Appeal. The other 2, Justice Effie Owuor and Joyce Alwoch, are since retired. But now we have quite a number of judges and a number of magistrates. In fact, the magistrates are the majority because magistrates are generally more than judges. So the judges, we have a total membership of almost 200 of women judges and magistrates, spanning all the way from the Court of Appeal to the magistracy. So there are members in the Court of Appeal, members in the High Court, and courts of equal status, and then we have membership among the magistrates. We even have male judges who are our members.
Oh wow, supporting the cause.
Supporting the cause.
Now, what are the main functions? Maybe you could just tell us a bit about that.
The main function is to advocate for justice for women and children. And also, for women means women in the judiciary, women in the justice sector, and then women in
at
general,
large, yes.
and the children. Children, we do not. We represent all children, not just women. I mean, girls, but also boys.
Okay.
Yes, because when they come to the judiciary, it's a strange place for them. They are lost. So they need guidance, they need support, and that is why the women judges are fighting for their cause, promoting their cause.
All right.
Yes.
Now, just going through the International Association of Women Judges, the main vision is anchored around gender equity and equality. We have social justice and fair representation. You know, looking even in this day and time, why are this vital for you as a lady judge?
Our mission specifically says to promote access to justice for women and children through gender parity, development of jurisprudence, and awareness creation, and then empowerment and mentorship. Women are still not at the same level as men. So it is a cause that we keep fighting for.
Yes.
And then women have special needs that were never taken into account when the system was male-dominated. If you listen to Lady Justice Alwot speaking, I have listened to what she says. When she was appointed, not just Lady Effie Owuor, when she was appointed, there was even no toilet for a woman judge in the judiciary.
Oh, wow.
So because she couldn't go to the male toilet. So you can see where we've come from. So there was a need to do that. Then women who come to court, some of them come with children. Some of them are pregnant. Some of them have other needs that are specific to women.
Yes.
The court corridors are dominated by men. In fact, if you look at the population of the people in any courtroom at any one time, it's dominated by men. So it is important for us to represent women. Then women are usually the ones who also cannot afford representation. So it's a place where they are completely lost.
Yes.
They are scared. So we want an environment that can give reassurance to them. Where possible, we are promoting advocates to represent them on pro bono basis. We are also creating, say, spaces where they can, say, breastfeed, where children can play while they are waiting for the court to start. And even small things like places where they can feel comfortable when they are in court, in the court station.
Yes, because that has been one of the longest standing challenges for most women when it comes to the judicial environment. It's not very friendly. Even just leave the judicial environment, you cannot just find a woman peacefully breastfeeding a child without somebody coming and harassing them. And also when it comes to representation, that is also an area that so many women struggle with. Now, just last week, we marked the International Day of Women Judges, the 10th of March.
Yes.
You're already smiling. It was the first one that was celebrated. What did it mean for you?
First of all, you will note that it was coming hot on the heels of International Women's Day.
Yes, back to back.
Celebrated on 8th.
Yes.
Then on 10th, we were celebrating the first ever International Day for Women Judges. So this was a day that the women judges wanted to be celebrated, and we wanted to celebrate not just judges but all the women in the justice sector.
Yes.
We also wanted to educate the public on what we do as women, the importance of women in society and especially in the justice sector.
Yes.
We want to showcase their girls and young ladies who would want to become judges. We want to mentor them. We want to tell them it's possible. And then generally we also want to create awareness about the challenges that women judges or women in the justice sector face.
Yes.
So those are the main issues we wanted to showcase on this day.
Now, you had also mentioned that there are some male members in the Association for Women Judges.
Yes.
And also looking at this day of celebrating women judges, how can even the male counterparts be part of this conversation? Because we always hear people complaining, fine, we're talking about the women, the girls, supporting them. What about the boy child? Because they cannot exist in a bubble. How then do we also rope in our male counterparts in line with the celebration of women judges in the entire value chain?
When we talk about gender, we talk about male and women.
Yes.
Society is composed of women and men. Society cannot be balanced without participation of both. So even as we are talking about the rights of women,
yes,
we are not leaving the men behind. All we want is to pull them along so that they work together, because traditionally women have taken the back seat. We just want them to bring them to the table so that they sit with the men. So the men are not missing. They are already in the boardroom.
Yes.
They're already on the table. So what we are doing is to bring the women to sit with them on the table. So that's what we are doing. So we want a situation where when a man is talking, he's talking for both men and women.
Yes.
When a woman is talking, she is talking for both men and women, and not just looking at the gender issue in a lopsided way. That's what we are promoting.
No gender is left behind.
No gender is left behind.
All right.
Yes.
Now that brings me to the project that, of course, was under the International Association of Women Judges, the Kenyan chapter, and that is the recently launched court in Shanzu, Mombasa, the Specialized Gender-Based Violence Court. Give us a bit of background towards this project.
The specialized gender-based courts has been something that we've been fighting for a long time. This is because women who are victims of gender violence are traumatized. A traumatized woman does not want to be kept too long thinking about the trauma.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's like every time they go to court, they remember the trauma they went through.
It's a trigger.
It is re-traumatizing them over and over again. So if the case stays in court for 5 years, a lot of them stay for between 3 and 5 years.
Oh, wow.
It is continuous trauma. Every time the matter is coming up back to court, the victim would recall what they went through. They are going to see the person who was the cause, the perpetrator, the cause of their trauma. So, and they are going to talk about it over and over. So what we want, the reason why we created this is to ensure that they are not re-traumatized over and over. And even if it is to happen, it is within the shortest time possible. Then again, time factor. Some of these victims are children. Some of them are very young children. Imagine an 11-year-old child who has to wait for 5 years until she is 16 years for the case to be heard. It is difficult.
Yes.
Thirdly, a lot of gender-based violence happens in the home. It is somebody they know. They would be threatened. They would be ostracized. They would be compelled, a lot of times forced, to drop the case, which means the case goes, they go without justice. So, and again, other times, evidence gets lost. So if we wait for too long, sometimes people lose interest. And even just the time, imagine it's a woman, say a woman who is working, or even if it's work at home, how many times, how much time can she spend going to court? Come this week, come next week, come next month, come next year. They drop off, they lose interest, or they just give up. So we don't want this to happen. That's why we wanted a specialized gender-based, gender violence-based court, so that their cases can be heard as soon as possible. Again, if we have a special court, it will have special, for example, prosecutors, and
that are specific to this particular cases.
Yes, that are specific.
Yes.
We are also trying to teach people to be victim-centered, so that when you are dealing with this case, you realize that you are dealing with a fragile person, and you do not want to make it worse for them. So we intend to also train. If we have already started, we've undergone training.
Yes.
We already started with the magistrates and the judges. We've done victim-centered trial, so that they know how to handle these people. You know what kind of questions to ask them. You know how to frame your questions. You ask the same question, but you use the right language. You frame it in a particular way. We also want them to feel warm, so that when they come, it's not like the regular court where we deal with, say, criminals only. We want them to feel like a place where they can talk freely. This is a safe space? Where they have a safe space.
Yes.
They can talk freely, and they know that the people, everybody who is dealing with the matter understands how they are feeling.
All right.
We are also dealing with cases where a lot of girls need, or rather, a lot of the victims need a safe house to remove them from the environment where they were defiled or where they were violated. These safe houses are very few. So we've also, this is something we've been promoting so that every county can open safe houses where these people can be kept. Yes, so this is why we needed a specialized court where all the actors in the justice sector who deal with this particular case are specially trained, and the environment is conducive for this kind of case, and the case is heard within the shortest time possible.
All right.
Yes.
Was there a reasoning towards setting up this first court in Shanzu, Mombasa?
Shanzu, the coast region has a lot of this kind of cases, gender-based cases.
Yes.
So I know places like Nairobi also has them. We have Kibera and Makadara, but this particular time, a lot of things are concentrated in Nairobi. So it was important that we also spread out, and that is how we went to Shanzu, where there is a courthouse away from the town, and then it's in an area where we also have very high incidences of gender-based violence.
Okay.
Yes.
But are we set to see more of these courts being established at least in every county to make accessibility more?
Actually, we intend to. We had to think about where to start.
Yes.
When we were thinking about it, we thought, can we go to Kibera? Can we go to Makadara? Can we go to Kajiado? Eventually, we settled on Shanzu, but it means we still need it in Makadara, we need it in Kibera, we need it in Kajiado, we need it in every station, because gender-based violence is experienced all over the country.
Yes.
So we need it, perhaps for a start, we can start with the one at every county level, and then we spread them down on a needs base. We look at the place where there is concentration of the cases,
yes,
and take them there.
Okay.
This will also depend on how fast we can get the facilities, because we need specialized facilities. We need to train all the actors, and we also need we also need time to do this. So we are doing it gradually,
bringing together all the resources necessary. And one may be watching and wondering, we have been seeing so many cases of sexual and gender-based violence, especially in the last 2.5 years or so that we have been going through this pandemic, with most of the perpetrators being, again, as you have mentioned, people that these victims trust. How sustainable do you think it is to have this courts, as given that we've already established the first one, and that is definitely a step in the right direction? Are they a sustainable project that even somebody at home could want to be part of the course?
It is sustainable, because all we need is a judicial officer and a courtroom. And once we have that, then the other people, the prosecutors are there, the police are always there. There is no shortage of police, there is no shortage of prosecution. There is shortage of judicial officers, definitely, but the judiciary has been working on recruiting more. So we are recruiting as many as will be required, but it is sustainable, because even if you go to our prisons, the bulk of the people there are people who are in because of gender-based violence, gender-based crimes. You go to the Court of Appeal, I think almost 50% of the appeals, the criminal appeals, are on the same issue. So it is like a pandemic. It's a pandemic that we need to deal with, and that is why we need to mop up resources to deal with this particular issue.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, also, another area of concern has always been the reporting mechanism. You know, when victims have been violated and they go to the police station to report, they also need to be trained on how to handle such cases. Is this part of the preparation and projects that also is in line towards ensuring that justice is actually accessed for these victims, straight from the reporting down to the whole court process?
It is a long chain.
Yes.
Because it starts with the victim. And we are trying to enlighten all the victims to send word out there. When you are violated, go to the police station and report. The police will have to work with a doctor, because this person has to be presented to a doctor immediately to fill the P3 form to preserve the evidence. Then we have the people who are doing the prosecution. When this person needs a safe house, we have to also find stay during the trial. Then after that, we go to the courtroom. Again, we have to find a conducive environment within the courtroom where they can be heard, and then we want to fast track their cases so that it doesn't take too long in the court.
All right.
So it's a whole chain, and when we are dealing with it, we are dealing with it taking into account all the actors in the justice sector.
Now, again, still, given this particular courts are victim-centered, there's also the financial responsibility that normally comes with any case that you are pursuing. How is it going to be different when it comes to this specialized case, or how is the financial aspect being factored in?
Fortunately, within the judiciary, there are funds for say, witnesses. We are also trying to work with the people, with the non-governmental organizations who can promote, who can pay for advocates, pro bono advocates. Pro bono means that they are not paid, but of course sometimes there are expenses. There are expenses that they incur that have to be paid for. So we are working with the several NGOs who can also promote the pro bono. We are working with the Law Society. We are asking advocates to sign in and help these people.
Yes.
We are working also with other bodies who can also help in the financing. But again, within the judiciary, we are also working with the people who do the budgeting to ensure that they have funds that will be used for this purpose.
All right.
Yes.
And given it's a whole multi-sectoral approach, private partnerships could also come a long way in just helping and ensuring that these courts are actually sustained for the long run. What other forms of assistance do you feel are necessary and could come even from a common mwananchi, a professional here and there, that could go a long way in assisting this specialized court?
First of all, we want all gender-based cases to be reported. A lot of them, we believe that what has been reported, what we are seeing, is just a fraction.
Yes.
We want all of them to be reported. We want everybody to know that it is wrong to violate a girl, to violate a woman, even the other way around, for the woman to violate a man. So we want all the cases to be reported. Then we want, so that can be done by everybody.
Yes.
If you hear, even if you are a neighbor, you know about it, go to the police station, and take the hand of this girl, take the hand of this woman, lead them to the police station so that they can report. Once that is done, we want doctors to work with us. When this person is brought to the hospital, please remember that they have been violated. Remember that they are feeling ashamed, they are feeling embarrassed, they are feeling it's their fault, they are feeling all emotions. So treat them in a way that doesn't make it worse for them. Do it as fast as you can, and then preserve the evidence. We are working with the police. I know that most police stations are supposed to have a gender desk.
Yes.
Whether they are in operation or not, I cannot confirm, but I know there is that policy that there should be a gender desk. So we want the police to work with us so that they realize that there is this gender desk. They always have the P3 forms, and they are always in contact with the doctor who can deal with the case as fast as possible. We want people who can give shelter to these people. Anybody who can give shelter to these people. Some of them cannot go back home because
the same environment.
Yes, the environment where they were violated. We want shelter for these people.
Okay.
So some of them, some of the violations lead to, say, pregnancy and so on. So all these things need to be sorted out. We need the Ministry of Education also to help so that some of these girls can even be removed from where they were to go to other places where they are safe. So it is something that the whole community has a part
to play.
Yes.
All right. Now, as we close this conversation, when it comes to more of this gender-based violence courts that the association has been on, and is definitely a step in the right direction, but also the responsibility that all of us have as individuals, as citizens, as protectors, and especially of minors, what would be your word of advice to our viewers this morning? There is your camera.
My word of advice to our viewers is that it is wrong to violate a woman. And when a woman is violated, assist them. Let them go report to the police. Let them go to court. Let nobody try to resolve this matter at home so that the woman or the victim goes without justice, and that gender violence is wrong. We should all work towards stopping it. Thank you.
Beautifully put. Gender violence is wrong. We all have a responsibility when it comes to protecting each and every person. Now, this has been all about the project that was recently launched by the International Association of Women Judges. This is the specialized gender-based violence court in Shanzu, Mombasa. It is the first of its kind, all in line with helping to address cases that involve sexual violence perpetrated on any individual, to hasten the process and make sure that these victims get the justice that they deserve, to avoid what we have always been seeing, a backlog of cases dragging over the years, and in some cases justice denied, because again, justice delayed is justice denied. So this is part of a series of conversations that we always have here on Good Morning Kenya when it comes to rewriting the narrative. And this morning we have been speaking with Lady Justice Maureen Anyango, who is the principal judge at the Employment and Labor Relations Court. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
We appreciate the time.
Welcome.
All right. Yes. So that is that, in line with what we had lined up for you today. Thank you so much for being with us. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning. I am Jane Wamboy. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Hii ni Mitikasi Leo, makala kutoka BBC yaliyomo. Baada ya kutengwa katika kushiriki uchumi wa dunia, ulimwengu wa michezo utalikiana na Urusi. Tunapigia kurunzi athari za vikwazo katika biashara ya michezo. Baadaye Kenya yaondoa vikwazo vilivyowekwa vya kudhibiti mlipuko wa virusi vya corona, na kisha tunaangazia hatua ya wanawake kushiriki siasa ili kupiga jeki ukuaji wa kiuchumi. Moja kwa moja kutoka Nairobi, Kenya, twende kazi. Hujambo na karibu katika makala inaangazia habari za biashara zinazokuhusu, uchambuzi wa kina na mahojiano. Mie ni Leaders Moshigadi. Hebu tuzungumze kuhusu michezo na jinsi vita kati ya Urusi na Ukraine vinavyoendelea kuathiri pakubwa sekta ya spoti duniani. Mstakabali wa mabingwa wa Europa Chelsea haujulikani baada ya vikwazo kuwekewa miliki wa Urusi Roman Abramovich siku ya Alhamisi. Bilionea huyo amekuwa akiongoza klabu hiyo tangu mwaka wa 2003, lakini jaribio lake la kutaka kuiuza klabu hiyo kwa takriban dola milioni 400 ilisitishwa na serikali ya Uingereza, ambayo kwa sasa ili imezuia mali yake. Abramovich aliwekewa vikwazo na serikali ya Uingereza kama sehemu ya kauli yao kwa uvamizi wa Urusi dhidi ya Ukraine. Serikali inaamini kuwa bilionea huyo amekuwa na uhusiano wa karibu na Rais Putin. Nikimnukuu waziri wa utamaduni wa Uingereza Nadine Dorries aliambia BBC Sporti kwamba Abramovich ana uhusiano na Putin, ambaye anaendeleza mashambulizi ya kinyama na